Locations in the comments. Tell me your locations, where you are checking in from. Happy Friday morning, everybody. Let's get to the proceedings quickly. We got a lot of things that need to be discussed here today. On the heels of what we talked about yesterday, this conversation is not over. This conversation is not over. We got some more things that need to be addressed and put on the table here today, and there is a significant amount to get to. So put your locations in the comments and let's get to what needs to be gotten to. If you're checking in on TikTok, tap the screen on TikTok and like the live. Everywhere else you are checking in, leave me a comment. Let me know where you are checking in from. We are live on 7 different platforms. Let me make sure we're good over here. Yeah, we are good on. Yeah, we're good on YouTube. As y'all coming in, give me your locations in the comments. We're gonna get started in a moment. We are live on YouTube. YouTube at DreAllDay. Good morning, YouTube. We're live on Rumble Studio. Rumble is at DreAllDay. It is telling us that we are live on X. Let me verify. Trust but verify. Yes, we are live on. We are live on X. Good morning over there on XJ. I see you with the comment. Eris Trudel. I don't know if these people are actually following me or they're just spamming everybody's comments. But good morning to those people on X who left comments. My name on X is also DreAllDay. Live on Facebook, Facebook/Work on Your Game University for those of you who are Facebook users. We are live on LinkedIn at DreAllDay if you couldn't guess. We're live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. Somebody has a DreAllDay name. I couldn't get it. And live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. Same story. Somebody has the name that I would have taken. I couldn't get it. Give me your locations as y'all checking in. We got a lot to get to here today. There's a lot of things that need to be said this morning by me. A lot of things I'm sure many of you had to say. Some of you were saying it kind of yesterday. We didn't really get into the depth of it. I was really talking high level yesterday. Today we're going to go into more detail about this Charlie Kirk situation. So we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk. And the conversation that I saw on X yesterday was interesting to say the least. There were a lot of people talking about Charlie Kirk after his passing. 31 years of age, he was a conservative influencer who played a big role in the outcome of the 2024 election, along with Elon Musk, notwithstanding Donald Trump himself and J.D. Vance himself. And he lost his life a couple days ago. 2 days ago, got shot. Many of you probably know about that, saw it. That's why you're here. And the conversation I saw on X yesterday was, again, the word I'll use is interesting, because a lot of people were talking about Charlie Kirk as if he was this terrible person and what happened to him was rightful and or deserved and or justified and or not a tragedy because, and then the arguments were about the things that he allegedly was about or that he supported or that he was okay with, such as bigotry, racism, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to discuss all of that here today in depth. We're going to get into all of that here this morning. So as y'all are coming in, give me your locations in the comments so we can get to what we need to get to, because there is a lot that needs to be gotten to. Give me your locations in the comments and tap the screen as y'all are coming in on TikTok. Courtney, good morning. Congrats. First comments. Yo, Kirk checking in from SC. Billie Jean from Indiana, good morning. Nikki from Connecticut, good morning. Nightmare, Michigan. Dr. Mudd from Louisiana. Britt from Southern Illinois. Nikki said $300,000 day. Okay, maybe we'll do 300K today. That's possible. Jean, good morning from upstate New York. Angela from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Dino said, pray for Charlie Kirk and family. Courtney, thank you for the heart to the live. Shout out to the people with the gifts who send those in TikTok. Carolyn Rudder from Oakwood, Georgia. Marky Man, good morning. Lele from North Carolina, good morning. Jaslyn Carter say, you're very intelligent. I enjoy your program. You're interesting. Thank you, Jaslyn Carter. You should wait till what I say today. You might change your mind. I didn't even get started yet, but I appreciate the compliment off top. On Aunt B, right before election again, strange. Well, there's no election. What election? Aunt B, but I appreciate you coming in either way. Tasmania's, thank you for the follow. TikTok ref from VA. Angelo from California. Joan Usk from Idaho. Good morning. Shina H, North Carolina. Good morning. Congrats on the #1 gifted badge. Balaxi, the Bolter. Good morning. Peter, we're talking about Charlie Kirk, the aftermath and the conversation about him. Happiness Now, checking in from the ATL. I forgot to put the board up here on TikTok. I meant to use that here today. Happiness Now from the ATL. Rila from Washington. Nick from Kentucky. Amber Lynn. Said hero, and I'm from Florida. Okay, fair enough. Amberlyn, I appreciate you sharing your opinion. Peter Zinko from Connecticut. Shelby from Florida. Rainman, Arizona. Doro from PA. Way Steve from Mississippi. Carolyn Rudder says some people are despicable. Free speech should not equal murder. Not generally agree. I lost my spot here. I'm just shouting out a couple people in the comments early on. If y'all coming in, shout yourselves out in the comments. I'll shout out a few more, then we'll go. GJ Winston from Warner Robins, Georgia. Good morning. Lele, thanks for the follow. Jules says Sonoma County, Northern California. Good morning. Cheryl Collins, North Carolina. KS Priest, good morning from Northwest Georgia. Glamour Girl, Birmingham, Alabama. The Bolter, Leslie from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Good morning. Aunt B from NJNYC. Rilla, thanks for the follow. Vicky, good morning. Paige, good morning from Missouri. LDG, thanks for the share. Aunt B, then added VA. Aunt B, you from a lot of places at the same time. Thought Burn said, what election? Yeah, I don't know what election they were talking about. Isaac, I can't read that name, but Grand Rising from Memphis, good morning to you. John said, I chose to be better than Charlie Kirk. He was a hateful person, so I won't be back to him. I don't even know what that means, but I get the sentiment of your opinion. Peter Zinko said, you like a businessman, not a political man. Well, politics is a business. I am a businessman. I'm not a politician, but I am a logical thinker and objective person, and this is news, so we're talking about it. Let's see. A couple more comments, and then we'll get a couple more people I'm going to shout out, and then we'll get into the material. Sean said, New York mayor elections in a few weeks. Oh, well, most of us don't live in New York. I don't give a damn about the New York mayor election. Actually, I do, but I don't. Aunt B said, a ton of special elections. Nat said, hello from VA. Good morning. Creek Boy Fishing, Northeast Tennessee. Good morning. Kalo from Maryland. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit is in the building. Moho from Kentucky. Vicky from Maryland. Kuya Bin Yashara, Manson, North Carolina. Casey from Kansas. Pit Dog from Kuna, Idaho. Sherry, Michigan, said he was a hero. Sean Stevenson, Ohio. Meg from VA. Elenita, good morning. All right, Lisa Terry from Texas. Okay, so I can't read everybody's. There's a lot of comments coming in, folks. So let's get into the conversation. The topic here today, we are talking about Charlie Kirk, the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death. I will tell you all, and I meant to use this on the board. Let me see if I can get the board on here. I don't know if I can. TikTok has these things called boards where you can put stuff on here, but I think it's too late for me to do it. My text message number, 305-384-6894. If you want to get my daily motivation text that I send out every day to people in my text community, text me at my number, 305-384-6894. TikTok's the only app that doesn't have the setup that allows me to do this the way that I want to do it. Let me see if there's I don't even want to play around with any of this stuff because I don't know what any of it's going to do. Yeah, TikTok's got all kinds of stuff going on here that I don't know if I can do anything with it. And y'all can't even see the titles when I do these live streams on TikTok. So this is one thing TikTok needs to fix, so where I can put things in here so that y'all can see it while I'm talking. I didn't really like the boards, and I'm not changing it right now. But my number is 305-384-6894. If you put you put that into your text message, send a text to that number, you'll get my daily motivation text. Wanda said shooter got caught. When did you hear that? Last I heard, the shooter was still at large, but the shooter got caught maybe in the last maybe in the last hour, because I didn't hear anything about that. I heard they're still looking for him. But anyway, that's not the topic here today, whether the shooter got caught or not. If and when they do, if we get any news about the person, maybe we'll talk about that. But everybody knows 2 days ago, September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, founder of this company called Turning Point USA, which was, last I checked, the biggest conservative, at least for the younger generation, let's say under 40 generation, the biggest conservative organization in the country. He was trying to make it the biggest one in the world, according to Candace Owens, who I heard her talking about that. They said it's on Fox News now. They just found him. Okay, well, I just posted. Okay, so people are saying they found the guy. Let's see. Let's look up shooter. This is breaking news, everybody. In the last 5 minutes, and they're saying that they're reporting it on Fox News. Let's see if I can find this. I'm looking on X. X is my place to find news, and I'm looking for it. Walking to and from. Now, some are. I don't think it's been updated yet. As far as on X, I'm not seeing it just yet. This is the place that I look at for news. So now, I believe you all. A few of you are saying that this person may have been found. Let's see. Latest Charlie Kirk. I'm looking. I'm just looking at different searches. So yeah, they say breaking news. The Daily Beast reported Donald Trump says the Charlie Kirk shooter has been found. Okay. All right. Well, we will enter that into the record. I'll tell you what I said this morning on X, and this was said an hour ago. I posted this at 6:46 a.m. I said the Charlie Kirk shooter will be found by Wednesday of next week. I said it wasn't going to take that long to find this guy because of the magnitude of who got shot and the popularity of this person, and you got the president involved. This person's not getting away. I knew they were going to get found no later than Wednesday. They found him today. So they found him even faster than I thought they would. So I predicted they were going to find this guy within 5 days. They found him in an hour. So anyway, let's continue on what I was talking about here today. And actually, I forgot to shout out a couple people on Instagram. I saw a couple of you on Instagram put in the locations. King Works from Tuscaloosa. Good morning. D. Gordon from Louisiana. Diane, Piero Rodeo. Good morning from Cleveland. And I'm looking for this conversation as well. And they said Fox are reporting this. Somebody turned them in. Okay. Makes sense. You shoot somebody up who's that well known, you're probably not going to get away with it, especially if they got pictures of you. You're not getting away. So he got shot at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, a few days ago. Now, it happened as he was answering a question on mass shootings, single shot fired from a rooftop. What people have found out is that the rifle that was used to shoot him is a gun that's usually used for hunting. It only shoots one shot at a time. So it wasn't a spraying of shots because the actual weapon that was used, you can only shoot one at a time. Then you have to reload before you can shoot another one. Obviously, this person is a trained shooter because from 200 yards away and to hit somebody, a person from 200 yards away, you got to be a pretty accurate shot. So Charlie Kirk's wife and children were present, which I didn't know if they were at the time. The FBI and ATF immediately took over the investigation. And they haven't yet confirmed the rest as of earlier this morning. Now, all of you are saying that they found this guy. Now, President Trump and his administration ordered flags to have staff that issue strong statements condemning the killing as political violence, as Trump said in his 4-minute video he put out, I believe, yesterday. And a lot of people had opinions in response to that video that he put out, being that Charlie Kirk was not technically a politician. He was just involved in it. And just Diane is fine. Okay. Diane, let me see if I can. Pierre Rodeo. I think I got it right, Diane. I will get it. If I hear you pronounce it once, I'll get it right. Now, almost immediately, debates began over Charlie Kirk's legacy, whether he should be remembered as a patriot who was fighting for conservative values and youth mobilization, which is true. He was doing those things. Or was he a figure who spread divisive rhetoric? He targeted marginalized groups and he inflamed political polarization. I think there's a fair argument that he was kind of doing both at the same time, that he was a patriot. He fought for conservative values. See, I told you, Diane, I would get it. He fought for conservative values. He was trying to mobilize the youth. These are true. And while doing that, some of the things that he said, certain people might have seen it as divisive because they just disagree with it. It's not like Charlie Kirk was coming out and saying, I'm trying to divide people. But if I come out and say something like Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James, you could call that divisive because some people really think LeBron's better than Michael Jordan. They're obviously wrong, but you could call it divisive simply because my opinion is going to draw a clear line between the people on this side and the people on that side. So you can be divisive without trying to be negative. And they say he targeted marginalized groups. I don't think that's true, but people in marginalized groups, whenever they hear anyone say something that goes against the grain of what that marginalized group may want to believe, they'll say, well, you're targeting us, rather than just saying you're saying something that we disagree with. See, that's the language game that y'all got to be careful with, is that when a group hears something that they don't like, that tends to go against the grain of that group, instead of just saying, hey, we disagree. Hey, let's have a debate about this. Hey, we heard what you said. Now hear what we have to say, which is how civil discussion is supposed to happen. Instead, what they say is, well, you're targeting us, which makes it seem like the person who said it is somehow, some way doing something nefarious and malicious, trying to hurt them, or trying to make them victims of something by calling it targeting, instead of just saying, well, you're saying something we disagree with, which is a fair thing to say. But to call it targeting, it changes the temperature of the conversation. So this is what people are saying, that he targeted marginalized groups. I disagree with that. and that he inflamed. That's another one of those words that, again, can change the temperature of the conversation. He inflamed political polarization. First of all, politics are already polarized. The polarization of politics in America is simple: Democrat, Republican, left, right, conservative, liberal. All right, MAGA, not MAGA. All right, pretty much. So we already have polarized politics. Charlie Kirk didn't inflame it. All he did was jump into the conversation that was already existing. We've had polarized politics for 100 years. So the fallout is less about the facts of the killing itself. I mean, it was just about the killing itself. We talked about that yesterday, and really most of the conversation was not about the killing itself. I mean, everybody saw what happened. Even the video is probably still on X to this day. It's more about what he symbolized in different parts of America, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. Let me introduce myself first so we get that out the way, then we get into the conversation. First of all, my name is Baldwin. Many know me as DreAllDay. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books. I've done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. I am a businessman, and what we do here is we help people with command of the room through presence, precision, performance, discipline, confidence, and do all of this through systems, which means doing the same things the same way every time. I've been doing that since my sports days. I do it now as a business person, as a coach, consultant, author, speaker, and other things that I do. You can learn more about me if you are so interested by going to the link in my profile, or just look me up on Google. I'm pretty easy to find. We don't need to get into me here today. I think everybody is interested in talking about Charlie Kirk. Let's do that. First of all, let's get the first thing on the table. All right. You do not celebrate the death of another person simply because you disagree with their views and opinions. Period. I don't care if you are liberal. I don't care if you are part of the LGBTQ community and or you are a supporter of that group. I don't care if you really, really, really disagree with everything Charlie Kirk said and stood for. I don't care if you hate Donald Trump, MAGA, the Republicans, and anything Donald Trump is about. Even if all of those things are true, you do not celebrate the death of another human being simply because you disagree with their perspective. That's completely ridiculous. All right. Charlie Kirk was not known for anything that he had physically done that was of note. What he had done was spread ideas. He built an organization. He had certain views. Clearly, he was conservative. Clearly, he was leaning very strongly religiously towards Christianity. And those are the perspectives and opinions that he had. Everything that he said was based on being a conservative, being MAGA, being a Trump supporter, and being Christian. That's pretty much what Charlie Kirk did. Can we agree to those 4 points? Even if you don't agree with what came from these, we can agree this is what he was about. Conservative, MAGA, Trump supporter, Christian. Those 4 things. Now, you tell me, what of those 4 things would cause a person to celebrate the death of that individual? How could you, even if you disagree with Christianity, even if you don't like Donald Trump, even if you're a liberal, not a conservative, even if you don't like what Charlie Kirk was doing and where he was going and the fans that he was generating and the way that he put his beliefs and opinions on the table, how could you possibly celebrate that man losing his life just because of those disagreements? That doesn't make any sense. That's all Charlie Kirk was known for, views and opinions. All right, he is not like Osama. I remember when 9/11 happened, and we actually just had the anniversary of 9/11 yesterday, which didn't draw as much attention as it may have simply because the Charlie Kirk news kind of became a bigger thing yesterday. 9/11 happened. We allegedly go looking for the guy responsible. And George W. Bush sends us into a couple of wars that maybe had nothing to do with it. Finally, he was found during the Obama administration. And you remember when it got announced that he was found and he was offed, he was unalived, people celebrated. There were celebrations in the streets when that man lost his life because that man had declared himself responsible for actually taking lives in the United States of America. That's a death that you can celebrate because this guy had really done something, or he had masterminded, or he was behind and he had taken responsibility for something that cost people their lives in a real way, a real tangible way. Charlie Kirk is nowhere near that scale to where anybody could celebrate the man's death. Now, you could say, I am happy that he lost a debate, or I'm happy that he supported Trump, and let's say Kamala had won the election. You could laugh about it and be happy and say, you went and supported that guy, he ended up losing. Something like that. But the man's death, all right, people are, this is getting out of hand, okay? He didn't physically do anything negative to anybody. He just had a perspective that he was willing to share. If you are out there celebrating because you happen to be anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, or anti-conservative, I have a rhetorical question for you. Have you lost your fucking mind? Have you lost your mind? Like, that man, again, doesn't even matter. Yes, he had a wife and he had kids, and that can add sentimentality to the conversation. But even if he didn't, even if he was single, he could have been 60 years old and single, having this opinion. That doesn't make it. That doesn't change the situation. You don't celebrate the death of another person simply because you don't like what they're saying. All right, where are people getting this from? And we know where they're getting it from. We talked about this yesterday extensively, that the mainstream media, which is mostly leaning towards the left politically, and the political left itself and the political left machine has created this environment. We're not going to say it's both sides. We're not going to say it's everybody. No, it is the mainstream / leftist media and those on that side who put themselves on that side and wave the flag and put their hands up and say, this is the side that we are on. They have created this environment. I talked about this a lot yesterday, that ever since Donald Trump came into office, these people have weaponized this language that I just talked about, this inflaming, this divisive, this harmful, this violent rhetoric. These words that they're using against people who are on the political right and conservatives and anybody who's connected with Donald Trump. If you keep using that language over and over and over again, understand the subconscious mind eventually accepts that and says, okay, well, the things that these people are saying is not just that they're wrong. Excuse me, it's not just that they're bad. It's not just that we on the left disagree with what these people are saying. Is that what these people are saying is actually harmful. It can tangibly hurt me. It can tangibly destroy us. It is real danger that they're putting us in with the things that they're saying. This divisive, inflammatory rhetoric. This is really negative stuff that they're saying. And the people who are telling you that, they're sitting on TV behind the dais in a suit, and they look all professional and they're saying it. But when you say the same thing over and over and over and over again, eventually some people are going to start to believe that that's really what you mean. And we have to look into the reasonable person doctrine. How does a reasonable person assume that if you're saying inflammatory language, that means you're kind of inciting things, right? You're inciting people to do certain things. Isn't that what they said about January 6, 2021? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Is that what they said about January 6, 2021? When Donald Trump said we're going to have a speech I'm going to give at the Capitol on January 6, 2021 about stopping the steal, and I want all of you to come and support me if you believe that they're trying to steal the election from me. They said by him giving the speech, just by giving the speech and telling people you're going to march to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically, he was inciting them to do something violent and tangible and physical. And that's the reason why it was a quote unquote insurrection. Is that not what they said? And see, if you keep saying that, over and over again, that a person's language is inciting and it's inflaming and it's moving people to do things, then it's going to cause people to start to believe. Doesn't mean they're going to do anything, but they're going to start to believe that the things coming out of this person's mouth, let's say Charlie Kirk, the things coming out of his mouth is inciting negative behavior from others. So if this person's words are inciting negative behavior from others, then if someone does something physically damaging to him, Charlie Kirk losing his life 2 days ago, then it's okay because the things that he was saying are offset, the bullet that he took to his neck is offset by the negative things that he was saying to incite and inflame divisiveness and danger and harm towards these marginalized groups that he allegedly was attacking. This is the logical jump that people are making in their minds to justify why it's okay that Charlie Kirk lost his life 2 days ago. To, again, I respond to that again with a rhetorical question. Have you lost your damn minds? Logically, that makes no sense. Rationally, that makes no sense. If it was somebody on the left saying the same thing, it's like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders on a tour right now, and he's writing a book, of course, that he's going to sell. He ain't giving it away for free, about how to defeat the oligarchy. All right, that's his whole thing. Defeat these oligarchs who are all the rich people making all the money. He's been doing this for 30 years, preaching this for 30 years. He has yet to succeed. The problem has only gotten worse the longer he's talked about it. Bernie Sanders, by that definition, is a failed politician, but that's a different conversation for a different day. If Bernie Sanders keeps saying that over and over again for 30 years and somebody goes and offs Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, would it be okay for people on the political right to say, you know what? Yeah, it's good that that's what happened to Bernie Sanders because he was spewing this inflammatory and divisive and hurtful and harmful rhetoric against people who are billionaires. Now billionaire died. So you know what? It's okay if those people die because Bernie Sanders said that. Or would it be okay for people to say, hey, it's okay if Bernie Sanders dies because he was saying things that made it hurtful and harmful and dangerous for somebody like Elon Musk to walk the streets of America? Would that be okay? Could you even picture people on the political right doing anything like that? Let me ask that question. Here's a yes or no question. I want you to answer this in the comments. Could any of you see people on the political right being okay with Bernie Sanders getting off, even though Bernie Sanders is damn near 3 times as old as Charlie Kirk? If let's say Elon Musk gets his life taken away, and not Elon Musk, excuse me, Bernie Sanders got his life taken away, and people say, no, it is okay because he was endangering rich people by talking about oligarchs and going on tour talking about how do we fight the oligarchy or whatever he was calling that tour he was on with AOC. Would that be okay? Would people on the political right be celebrating his death? I don't think so. I can't even see that happening because I don't see the right in America. And by the way, I'm not on any side politically. I don't see the right in America being that deranged as to go to that length. Even when Trump believed the election got taken from him in 2020, and he had his reasons, and he had his supporters who came to DC and went to his speech, and then you had the 1,500 people who were charged with something after the January 6th situation at the Capitol building. Even with that, they went straight to the Capitol building. They didn't go attacking leftists. They didn't actually physically attack anybody. Of course, maybe you can ask some Congress people who said they feared for their lives. Okay. All right, let's just leave that as it is. People on the left have been whipped up into a frenzy over people on the right. Even when Donald Trump had the bullet whiz past his head in Butler, PA last summer, there were people out there saying, well, damn, the shooter missed. They were just a few inches off. Like, really? Have people lost their minds? And I think the answer is yes. I'm asking that as a rhetorical question, but I think people have lost their minds. People lost their minds out here saying that, oh, it was okay that something would happen to this guy just because you disagree with his opinions. Have we become so depraved when it comes to political conversation that you're going to take your common sense and throw it out the window because you are so staunchly on one side of an opinion, belief, or idea? Understand that the whole point of one of the points of politics, let me say, is for people to debate their ideas and debate their views and debate, this is how I feel, here's how you feel, here's how I see it, here's how you see it. I'm going to make my argument to the world, to the country at least. You make your argument to the country. We have an election on this date. Everybody go vote and majority rules. That's what politics is. The reason why Bernie Sanders is on tour, stopping the oligarchy or whatever he's calling it with his daughter, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason they're doing that is because they are making their case to the American voters so that when the next election comes up and either Bernie or AOC or someone of their ilk who is talking about a similar thing comes up for election, they can win the election because Bernie and AOC have planted the seed of why their ideas are a good idea. The reason Charlie Kirk goes around and does these events talking to people, mostly to younger people, and talking to them about his conservative and biblical-based views is because he is trying to show people and persuade and influence people to look at things from a conservative point of view, which usually means they're going to vote for the conservative politicians so that when the next election comes around, the conservative wins and the conservative can say, thank you, Charlie Kirk, for planting the seed for helping me win this election. That is how politics works. You give your opinion, I give my opinion. We can debate our opinions like Trump versus Kamala, J.D. Vance versus Walz. We have our debates of opinions. I put my stuff out, you put your stuff out. We let the people decide what they think. And then on election day, that's the judgment. That's when the judgment comes out. That's the way it works. One thing we don't want to do is silence another person's opinion. Why don't we want to silence another person's opinion? Because when you silence the opinion of another person, often it has a backfiring effect. All it does is draw more attention to whatever they were saying, first of all. And secondly, when you silence another person's opinion, you're showing that there must be something in their argument that you can't challenge on a rational and logical basis. So you found a way to push the mute button on this person so they can't even say what they want to say. So let's just figure out how to keep them from saying anything. And again, this is the problem that I had with anyone on a political left, whether I'm talking a politician or a civilian, like those of you who are listening to this right now. What was happening to Donald Trump in 2024? People are saying Donald Trump's a bad person. He was a bad president. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to do all these terrible things, destroy the Constitution, destroy democracy, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all have heard it all before. I don't need to repeat the list. Okay. Donald Trump is not the president from 2021 through 2024. Biden is president, the Biden-Harris administration. It becomes clear that Donald Trump's going to run again in 2024. He wants to be president again for his second term. All right. We all understand this is the situation. The Democratic Party, at this time, the DOJ is led by President Biden. They decide, you know what we're going to do? We're going to and again, Joe Biden didn't say this out loud, but his fingerprints are all over it. We're going to silence Trump and not let him even make his case. That's what they did. They tried to silence him and not let him make his case. It started with the lawfare, the 4 cases against him. You had the Alvin Bragg in New York. You had Tish James in New York. You had Fannie Rose in Georgia. You had Jack Smith in Florida. They tried to silence the guy. They said either we're going to take all his money so he can't run, or we're going to get him in jail so he can't be running. Or the other thing they tried, lest we forget, they said, oh, well, because of the insurrection, quote unquote, that he staged in 2021, that means he can't be on the ballot. Remember the state of Colorado tried to remove Trump from the ballot. He can't even be on the ballot, so nobody can vote for him. That got struck down. They had to keep him on the ballot. And, I mean, we know what happened. Now we got Trump as president again. They tried to silence him and not let him run. The problem I have with that action by the political left is this. If what he was doing was so bad, all you had to do was go up against him, argument for argument, point for point, position for position, and just beat him in a fair fight. They didn't want to have a fair fight, which is why it made perfect sense that Trump ended up winning the election in 2024. Again, I'm not on any side politically. I'm just looking at this logically and rationally, that the political left tried to turn it into, they tried to not even have a fight. They said, we want to make it so he can't even run. Well, if he's such a bad person and he staged an insurrection and he tried to destroy democracy, he tried to take over the government, he tried to overthrow the government, he's such a bad person and everything he did in his first term was so terrible, then there's no way that more than half of the voting population in the United States of America will vote for him again. Okay, just let him run and let him get beat. But if more than half of the country votes for him, then clearly whatever you're saying about him, your quote unquote inflammatory and divisive rhetoric about him, obviously ain't true. Because how does half the people vote for him? Unless half the people are just stupid. I don't think so. They weren't stupid when they were voting for you. So now they're stupid because they voted for the other guy? That sounds about right. But you tell me if I got anything wrong here. So the political left has done so much to try to silence the voices of anything that it doesn't want to hear. That's not a fair fight. And let me remind you all of my background. My background is in professional sports. In the sports world, you got to beat the person in front of you, and you're only as good as who you beat. So you can't be a champion beating a bunch of bums. You got to beat somebody who's good. You got to beat somebody who can beat you for you to be worthy of something. You can't beat up a bunch of people who can't play and then say you're the best. Now, you got to beat people who can play. And if you don't do that, then your whatever title you give yourself is not worth it. And the issue that the political left has right now is that they're trying to silence instead of just beating somebody fair and square. Donald Trump took all that from 2024, all the lawfare, the bullet past his head, all the ways they tried to stop him from even being on a ballot. Again, they didn't say don't vote for Donald Trump because A, B, C, D, E, F. They said don't let him be on a ballot. He shouldn't even be allowed to run. Why? Well, it was obvious. And the world responded by saying, okay, y'all don't want to be on the ballot, obviously, because you think if he gets on the ballot, you ain't going to win. And we saw what happened. Did we not see what happened? Now, I'm make sure I'm not making too many assumptions here. Did we not see what happened? We saw it. When you're trying to silence somebody for what they say, all you do is draw more attention to what they're saying. This is the mistake the left made with Donald Trump. This is the mistake that they're going to see they made with Charlie Kirk, because I knew who Charlie Kirk was. If I saw him, I would say that's Charlie Kirk. I knew what he looked like. He made himself very popular, but I wasn't an avid listener of his material. I believe he had a podcast. These days, everybody has a podcast. I got a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. I was not a listener of Charlie Kirk's podcast. Don't even know what it was called, but I'm pretty sure I could find it pretty easily. I was not following him on YouTube. I was probably following him on social media. And the thing is, whatever he was saying, whoever wasn't paying attention to it, guess what they're going to do now? Now everybody's going to be paying attention to it. What exactly was this guy saying that people are so have so much to say about what he was saying? Since everybody's talking about it and now he's dead, now everybody's going to go look up and see what he says. This is the same thing that happened with the guy whose name I can't say, the kickboxer living in Romania with the bald head who has all these charges against him allegedly for trafficking women, et cetera, et cetera. That guy and his brother. I had heard the person's name, but I never paid any attention to him. That guy. Somebody put his name in the comments. That guy. When he got canceled, this was probably like late 2022. I believe it was that time. Late 2022, he gets canceled. And it said such and such got canceled on all social media platforms. I said canceled on all social media platforms? Y'all cancel somebody on all social media? I never heard anybody getting canceled on all of them. The only other person I ever heard get canceled on all social media platforms was Donald Trump after January 6th. So they canceled this other guy. I'm like, Donald Trump got canceled because they said he was trying to overthrow the government. Okay, I don't think he was trying to overthrow the government, but that's what they canceled him for. Now they're canceling this guy because of what? I went and looked at, when they said they canceled him on all social media, I said, I never heard of that before. Coordinated all at the same time. I said, what are they canceling for? What is he talking about? I never even heard of this dude. And they said misogyny. I said, really? They canceled this guy over misogyny on every single social media platform at the same time on the same day. They canceled him over misogyny. I said, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't smell right. So you know what I did when I saw that? I started listening to his material. I said, I heard of people saying, quote unquote, misogynistic things for years. Now you're canceling people over it? All right, what exactly could this guy be saying? Is this guy putting words together in a way that's never been heard before that they had to cancel him for? I went and started listening to his stuff. And when I started listening to his stuff, well, two things happened. First of all, I listened to more of his stuff. I started listening to a few of it to see what exactly he said that was so crazy. I didn't hear anything. So I listened to more. And then secondly, I realized that it was nonsense what they canceled him over. That wasn't the real reason they canceled him. They canceled him because his message was becoming too effective and they didn't want to fight fair and just counter message him. So they said, let's just stop him from talking, period. Obviously, it didn't work. Here we are 3 years later. All you know who he is, right? Okay. This is the problem when you try to silence somebody these days. Now, 30 years ago, you could have did this. 30 years ago, there were people who had things to say who did effectively get silenced, and we don't know who they are because they didn't have these other outlets and these other avenues to get their message out. You could literally effectively silence somebody 30 years ago. 2025, you can't silence anybody. You can't do it. Well, technically you can if they lose their life, but now somebody got to pay the price for doing it. But you can't just shut somebody down and say, well, they're not allowed to speak. They tried to do it to Trump. They kicked him off X. They kicked him off Facebook. They kicked him off YouTube. They kicked him off Instagram. And that was in 2021. 3.5 years later, he wins the election with more than half the popular vote. I thought he was supposed to be silenced. It doesn't work anymore. So the problem with the people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk and saying that he was saying this divisive, hateful stuff, here's what's going to happen. A bunch of people are going to go start listening to what Charlie Kirk was actually saying, not what social media told you he was saying, but what he was actually saying. Then they're going to compare what they actually hear him actually saying to what people on social media are saying, often people who are much more on the political left. They're going to notice the conflict between the story you were told and the reality that they come across. And they're going to say, oh, these people are not telling the truth. And all it's going to do is push people further and further and further in the direction of where Charlie Kirk was trying to take them in the first place. It's going to make his message even more effective because now people are going to go look into it and say, okay, they say it was hateful. Okay, let me hear what he said that was hateful. That's what he said. That's not hateful. That's just an opinion. And some people may find themselves actually agreeing with it. And it's actually going to push people more in the direction of where he was trying to take them in the first place. This is what happens when you try to silence people in 2025. All you do is make their message even more loud. Again, the guy in Romania, the kickboxer who got silenced, allegedly, I was never paying any attention to this dude before he got canceled. But then when he got canceled, I started listening. I said, actually, this message is not bad. And I started listening more. And I still listen to his stuff to this day. Why? Because it got my attention. If they hadn't canceled him, I would never paid attention. I paid attention because they canceled him. So it has the opposite effect of what was intended. Now, here's the next question. And this is something that another guy whose name I can't say, who is effectively banned on this app. Y'all can't even put his name in here because they won't even let his name come up in the comments. Not that guy, but another guy. His first name starts with the letter N. His last name starts with the letter F. Now, you know who I'm talking about? Y'all can't put his actual name in the comments. It won't even show up in the comments. TikTok literally has banned this guy's name from the comments. But this guy, he lives in, good morning. How are you? How you doing?
Good.
Good. We got a big audience here today. You want to sit here with me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can't make too much noise, but you can sit here with me. So this guy who lives in Chicago, younger guy, I believe he's younger than Charlie Kirk, in his 20s. Y'all know who I'm talking about. His first name starts with the letter N. His last name starts with the letter F. He is banned on TikTok, at least. He is on X. I am following him on X. One thing that I've listened to a few of his messages. I follow him on Rumble. Rumble is the app he's on because he's banned on YouTube. And I've listened to some of the things that he says, and I understand the direction of his point. He is very similar to the kickboxer in that both of them have a similar strategy. Their strategy is They have a perspective, they have an idea, and they're different. Their approach is different from mine because we can have similar ideas. But what I do is I try to say things in a measured way. I'll say, okay, I see this side, I see this side. I see that this can happen this way, but I'm not going to apply it to everybody. I'm not going to say that this is a sweeping point or a sweeping generalization. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to be fair, honest, logical, and objective. What these two guys do, and I'm talking specifically right now about the guy from Chicago, his initials are NF. Y'all don't know who he is. Somebody put some version of his name in the comments. That guy, what he does often when I listen to him is that he's very hyperbolic. It's the same thing the other guy does. They're very hyperbolic. I see. Nice job. 2 sparkle smashes. And being hyperbolic means you take something like...
This watermelon is on top.
I see. Okay. Now let me finish talking. So a couple of days ago, you had the stabbing that happened in Charlotte, right? The stabbing that happened in Charlotte, it was a black guy and this refugee, what most of you will call a white woman. She's actually European, but I distinguish. Yes, she's technically, her skin is white, but there's very few similarities between a white woman from Nebraska and a white woman from the Ukraine. But anyway, except skin tone. What I would say is that, and I said this yesterday, is that every person is held responsible for their personal actions. Whatever you do, you're responsible for. Can we get the likes up on TikTok? We got 34,000 likes. 600 of y'all in here. Let's get the likes up, please.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Let's get the likes up, please, folks. We're at 34,000 likes between all of you. We could be at 100,000
Have some more
already.
chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Yes, that guy, human imagination. Yes, that guy. So, and the other guy you said, you got both of the names right. So he is more hyperbolic where he'll say something like, instead of saying this guy did something bad or, hey, we're seeing this happen, what he'll say is black people. He'll say black people are this type. I don't want to be around black people. He posted this on X the other day. Let me see if I can find the post where he said it on X because it was pretty, let me see. Here he is. For those of you who don't know who he is, I can't show this too long because I don't know, TikTok's AI might see it and get mad at me for even showing you his name. He had 828,000 followers on X. And he said, let me see if I can find it. Because it was just a few days ago he said it. But, oh, here it is. 2 days ago. He says, scenario A. And this got 4 million views on X. You board a train car, you see a black person. You immediately turn and leave. You're a racist. Scenario B. You sit beside a black person, you get stabbed to death, you're dead. Scenario C. You fight back and subdue your attacker, you're charged with manslaughter. See, that's hyperbolic, what he's saying. Directionally, what he's saying, I understand. I wouldn't say it that way, but saying it this way gets a lot of attention. It draws a ton of reaction, and this is his style. And it's the same thing that the other guy does, Mr. AT. He does the exact same thing. And I'm bringing both of these up for this reason because I want to ask this question. I want to know what you all think. Do the actions of the individual represent do the actions of an individual represent the demographic? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Do the actions of an individual represent the demographic? Because there's some nuance we have to go into with this question. So I'm getting some yeses and some no's. I'm getting a bunch of no's. I saw a couple of yeses. A bunch of you are saying no. Okay. And a few of you are saying yes. Someone said they represent the culture. Okay, so here's where I stand on it because I heard another person I like listening to. I don't think he's banned. His name is Royce White. You heard of Royce White?
Voice what?
Royce White. Now Royce actually played basketball similar to myself. He's younger than me, but he played basketball for maybe a year or two in the NBA. Then he played in some other leagues, and now he's in politics. And Royce I was listening to his show when he was talking about the Charlie Kirk situation just this morning. And Royce said something that made me think, and is the reason why I'm bringing up this question I'm asking all of you, is when you look at, yes, Royce from Iowa State, that guy. And he's from Minnesota. So Royce was saying, and I think he's right about this, that when the political left is trying to demonize anything that's happening on the right, they will take the actions of one person and they will apply it to the entire demographic. Is this true or not? Does that happen? Give me a yes or a no. When people on the left are trying to demonize the right, they will take the actions of one individual and they will apply it to an entire group. I mean, Joe Biden did it when he said the only trash I see are his supporters. And he was talking about Donald Trump. when there's some white person, right-leaning white person or MAGA supporter or Trump supporter that does something bad, such as a school shooting or anything like that, what do you get? You get heterosexual white men. You get Trump supporters. It's not that guy. It's Trump supporters. The group is not this person. It's conservatives. It's not this individual who has this thought. It's the far right. It's these people we're going to put in this group. They take the actions of one individual and they pin it on the entirety of the demographic. The left does this all the time. They do it so often that you don't even notice it now. They made it just a normal part of their vernacular. And what Roy said, and what I heard in his latest podcast episode, he said, well, if you're going to do that when you're demonizing the people you don't like, then you have to accept it when people on the other side do the same thing to you. And to that, I would have to say, that's correct. What do y'all think? Give me a yes or no. I would have to say yes to that. If whatever group you're a part of, every one of you is part of some demographic group. All right. You could be white. You can be conservative. You can be MAGA. You can be black. You can be LGBTQ. You can be a female. You can be college educated. You can be not college educated. Every one of us is part of several different demographics. How do you like it when someone tries to pin an action of someone who shares your demographic background on you just because you're part of the group? Like what I just read from Mr. NF. He says, you see a black person, you immediately turn and leave. You're a racist. You sit beside the black person, you get stabbed to death. You fight back, subdue your attack, you're charged with manslaughter. Well, he's just talking about black people. He didn't say a certain type of black person. He just said black people. I'm black. I technically could be offended by that. I'm not offended by it because I understand the direction of his point. But there are black people who look at that and they get really mad at him for saying something like that because it sounds like he's being quote unquote racist. I get his approach. I know what he's doing. I just broke it down for you. But at the same time, on his profile, the same guy, he has America first with an American flag. Then it says Christ is King on his profile. So that sounds like what? What's the term they use for that? Anybody give me the term in the comment? Give me the term in the comments of a person. There's two things in his bio. One is an American flag and it says America first. And the other one is Christ is King. There's a term that they use for this. It's a 2-word term. I'm looking for the 2 words that they use to describe people who have these 2 things in their bio. Yeah, there it is. James, you got it. And Lady Birdmar, you got it. Yes, the Christian nationalists. They call people like him a Christian nationalist. And usually when you say Christian nationalist, usually you're picturing a white person. Technically, you could be black and a Christian nationalist. But there's a white guy, Christian nationalist. And they will take the things that people like him say. Pay attention here. The human imagination, you got it right. They'll take the things that people like him say. The left will take this and say, well, look, this is the way that Christian nationalists, plural, this is the way they think because this one guy said it. Now, why would they apply that? And why are they so comfortable doing that, making that application? They're comfortable making that application because this guy has 828,000 followers on X. He has a movement. He has an audience. And if the leader of a group says something, they're okay applying that to everybody who may be part of that group. Even if not everybody in the group actually agrees with that, might not even be the reason that they're in the group. Again, just like Donald Trump. When Donald Trump in 2021, January 6th, they had that Stop the Steal speech. And then you had whatever you want to call what happened at the Capitol building. They said Trump supporters, any Trump supporter, the blood is on your hands for what happened at the Capitol building, even though, again, factually speaking, only 1,500 people got charged with anything. You know how many Trump supporters there are? More than 1,500. There are millions, tens of millions. Only 1,500 got charged. But even if you didn't go to D.C., if you got a hat, if you got the MAGA hat, if you voted conservative, if you happen to look like you vote conservative, people are looking at you crazy just because of what 1,500 people allegedly did that day, January 6, 2021. So they took the actions of a small few or just one, Donald Trump himself, and they applied it to everybody in his group, even though, again, you might have supported Trump just because you like what he had to say about the economy or you like what he had to say about immigration. It didn't have anything to do with what happened January 6, 2021. But because of the association, they're going to make you guilty. Guilt by association. So if they're going to do that, and they could be whatever group you're not a part of, the group that opposes whatever group you're a part of, if they're going to do that to your group, then it's only fair game you do it back to their group. Now, does any of this make logical sense? Is any of this rational? The answer is no and no. None of this is logical. None of it is rational. However, I heard Megyn Kelly say this after she said this in 2024. leading up to the election and after the election. She said, she's a person with a law background, and she's now an opinion journalist. I think is what she calls herself. She tells you the facts of the situation, but she also gives her opinion, which is pretty accurate of what she does. She said, listen, if people on the left are going to play this game and they're going to sling mud and they're going to play not fair and they're going to try to rig the game and they don't want to have a fair fight and they want to try to get Trump from even running, not beat him in a fair fight, but try to stop him from running. And they're going to use this kind of language to make it seem like these people are going to destroy your life if you don't destroy them first. If they're going to play that game, those of you / us, this is her talking, those of you / us who are on the political right, all right, we can't keep turning the other cheek. All right, at some point, you got to start playing the game on the level at which they're playing it. And if they're going to do it this way, then we got to show them what it tastes like to receive your own medicine. And more, even after hearing Royce this morning and all the stuff I saw on X yesterday, more and more I am coming around to believing that this is just the way that the game has to be played. As much as I try to be logical and rational and objective, and I will continue to be, at the same time, I will open myself up to accepting that things like what Mr. NF said here, again, get on the train. You got 3 options. You can sit next to a black person or see a black person leave that makes you a racist, sit next to the black person and get killed, or you can fight the black person and get charged with manslaughter for subduing them. And again, he's being very hyperbolic here, but I understand. And this has just become accepted that this is the way things had to be talked about. Why? Because the nuance and the logic and the objectivity isn't quite landing, number one. And number two, actually, it is landing. Let me take that back. It is landing. However, if your opponent is slinging mud in a completely different way and it's riling up their audience to the point that they consider you to be a threat to life, and so it's such to the point that you use losing your life as something for them to celebrate simply because they disagree with your opinion, okay, we're playing a different game now. You're taking things to a different realm and to a different level. And sometimes you got to meet people where they are, even when it's your opponent. Sometimes you got to meet people where they are. And that's just the game. That's the way that I'm seeing it. And I'm giving you several different references here because I've heard many people whose message I like and their approach I respect say this. And at this point, you got to say that they're right, especially after what I saw yesterday regarding Charlie Kirk. So people are celebrating him, Mr. Kirk, as a youth mobilizer, who he was. He built a national network, which he did. He defended free speech, he did. And he energized conservative voters, also true. He did all these things. And this is why the administration is giving him high honors, on top of the fact that he actually helped Donald Trump win the 2024 election. That's undebatable. First of all, is Donald Trump is the reason he won. He's the reason he won. Then under him, you got 2 people. You got Elon Musk, you got Charlie Kirk. There's nobody else on that level. You got those 2 on the next tier. Trump, then you got Elon and Charlie Kirk neck and neck. Elon put the money up. Charlie Kirk did the blood, sweat, and tears. That's just a fact. It's not a fact, but it is a fact. Those are the 2 people most responsible besides Trump himself for what happened in 2024. So because of that, they're giving him this type of response, let's say the current administration, because of what he did to help them. Because there would be no Trump-Vance administration had Charlie Kirk not been involved. Everybody understands this, even if you didn't vote for Trump. So that's why they're giving him these high honors, these high-level tributes. Why J.D. Vance had the family of Charlie Kirk on Air Force 2 yesterday to fly them. I believe he flew them home or wherever he flew them to, because he's the reason that they got it. He's the reason they got the plane. Because otherwise it'd be Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on that plane. Imagine that. So Trump and senior officials, they framed him as a patriot because his death is an attack on democratic discourse. And people were really attacking the fact that Trump used that frame. He was saying that the political left has riled people up to where you get these crazy kind of behaviors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And people are saying, well, why is Trump being divisive at this time? And why he's trying to blame it on the left? What happened to Charlie Kirk in his 4-minute video that he put out yesterday? I say it's fair game and he has every right to do so. And I just told you why. Donald Trump has every right to do so. Let's remember who Donald Trump is. Aside from being the president, he's the guy who they just put 4 court cases on him in 2024, all designed to try to stop him from running in the election, not winning the election, stop him from running in the election. They tried to bankrupt him with Tish James. They tried to bankrupt him again with the E. Jean Carroll. They tried to send him to jail with the RICO thing, Fannie Willis. They tried to send him to jail with the Jack Smith. So they either going to jail him or take all his money. They failed on both fronts with 4 different cases. Then a bullet got shot past his head. I'm not saying the left was responsible for that, but you could give them credit, not responsibility, but credit for what ended up happening. And Donald Trump comes out and says the political left is riling people up to go against conservative voices. And the voice that they went against is the guy who was most responsible besides Elon Musk for helping Trump win the election. Donald Trump has every right to that perspective. Imagine that was you. You have 4 cases against you last year to stop you from even running in the election. You won anyway. You had a bullet shot past your head based on probably a lot of the divisive rhetoric coming from your opponents. Then the 2 people who are most responsible for helping you win, one of them gets offed 9 months into your new administration, and he helped you win, and you come out and say, hey, the divisiveness from that side has got to stop, and they're doing a little bit too much. Would you be out of bounds in saying that? I don't think so. Would you be out of bounds in saying that? I wouldn't be. I would say the exact same thing. I would probably say it in a lot less measured way than Donald Trump said it. Actually, probably not. But I would have license to do so if I wanted to. Just because of the temperature of what's been happening. Thank you for getting the lights up, folks. Keep the lights coming. Now, the reason I mentioned that, can we apply what happens one individual doing things to the entirety of the group? There's still a question of who exactly did the shooting here. And I think we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that until we find out who exactly the person was and see what we can get from them. Now, critics argue that Charlie Kirk platformed, pay attention to this language here that they use. Platformed is one of those new terms that people are throwing out. I mean, it's not a new word, but this new term that people are using politically, platforming, divisive rhetoric. That 3-word phrase, platformed divisive rhetoric. You could just say he had opinions that we disagree with, but they changed it to platform divisive rhetoric. First of all, it's impossible to platform. You can't platform anything or anyone these days. Anybody can platform themselves. I platformed myself by turning on the camera this morning. Nobody platformed me, and anybody can platform themselves. So there's no such thing as platforming divisive rhetoric. Divisive rhetoric. What makes the rhetoric divisive? The fact that you don't like it, the fact you disagree with it. But the same rhetoric is okay if you like it. So they say it's divisive to say that a boy can't become a girl. But if you say a boy can become a girl, that's not divisive. That's, I guess they would call that inclusive. Okay. Whole different conversation that we're not going to dive into here today. And they say he platformed divisive rhetoric on LGBTQ issues, which I just touched on, religion and politics, which he was bringing a good amount into that, and the 2020 election claims, which, of course, he was on the side of Trump. So public lionization, they say people celebrating Charlie Kirk's life, it risks sanitizing the harm that his community caused. I say this is nonsense. And this is very, very, very tricky language. Let me read this entire phrase again to you, the entire statement again to you. I want you to notice the tricky language used here. I'm going to point out every single word. They say he platformed divisive rhetoric on LGBTQ issues, religion and politics, 2020 election claims. So public lionization risks sanitizing the harm his commentary caused. 8 phrases they use there to inflame you in one phrase, in one sentence. 8 words. Platform, divisive, rhetoric, lionize, risk, sanitize, cause. You could easily say the exact same, you could make this exact same statement, the same sentiment by saying Charlie Kirk was known for having strong opinions on LGBTQ issues, religion and politics, and the outcome of the 2020 election, and period. You could just end it right there. Say the same thing. But when they use this other language, what it does is it gets people riled up. It gets people excited. Does the political left do this all the time? Yes, they do. I just gave you a very clear example of it. They do this all the time, and they do it with Trump and anyone who is connected to Trump downstream from Donald Trump. So does this have anything to do with the way that the everyday person is thinking? Yes, it does. Of course it does, because they're listening to this stuff every day. And does the way a person thinks consistently eventually lead to something that somebody may do? Of course it does. Now, again, are we saying that just because the left said this means somebody is directly going to go do that? No, we can't make that claim. But can we point at them the same way Donald Trump pointed at them yesterday in that 4-minute video he made about the death of Charlie Kirk? Yes, we can. Why? Why can we do this? 1, because I just logically explained to you how we can do it. 2, because this is the game that they're playing against him. Eventually, at some point in life, you got to fight fire with fire. There's only so many times you can walk away before you got to fight. What did Donald Trump say after that bullet went past him in Butler, PA? He got up and he said, fight, fight, fight. Eventually, at some point, you can't keep turning the other cheek. This is what it is. Those of you on the right, all right, this is what it is. This is the game that they decided to play. So progressive groups and commentators are urging coverage to name his positions, such as his anti-LGBTQ positions, rather than memorialize him as apolitical. Well, first of all, nobody's calling Charlie Kirk apolitical. He is known because he's political. Turning Point USA is for conservative voters. So nobody's saying this guy was apolitical. They say he was in politics. He was just on this side. He was just on one side politically, very strongly on one side politically, and very active on one side politically. And then people are saying, well, he was anti-LGBTQ, as if that phrase alone is some type of scarlet letter that makes you a bad person. I wholeheartedly disagree. So let me, again, put this in context. They're saying that this guy being anti-LGBTQ, anti-rainbow, somehow just on that concept alone, without even explaining what he was against or the specifics, just being anti-LGBTQ makes him a bad guy. I say, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. First of all, it is stated in the Bible, homosexuality is an abomination. All right, that's stated. All right, and that's not pulled out of context. That's what it means. That's what it's saying. That's what it means. Is anybody questioning that? That's what it says. A boy turned into a girl. It's not possible. All right, you can't do that. A boy can't become a girl. A girl can't become a boy. All right, just for the record. All right, just so everybody knows where I stand on that. No, they can't. That's not a thing. Now, here's what I will say. If you are over the age of 18, you'll reach the age of the majority, and you're an adult, and you are a male, born with male reproductive organs, you decide you want to walk around as a female, you have every right to do so. That's what you want to do, go do it. All right, and there are men or women out there or whoever they are who want to engage with you intimately behind closed doors in your bedroom or at the club that you go to or whatever group you're a part of. If that's the way you want to live, go ahead and live that way. That's you're a girl, you want to be a boy, you're a boy, you want to be a girl. Over the age of 18, go do what you want to do. If you're an adult, you make adult choices, do what you wish. Don't bring that shit around me, but do what you want to do. All right, I have no problem with it. I can't stop you. You're an adult. You can do what you want. You're a free citizen. It's a free country. Fair enough. Do not, however, bring this into schools. Do not bring this to kids. Do not be a teacher in a school telling kids that, hey, just because they say you're a boy doesn't mean you're actually a boy. Are you sure that you're a boy? Have you ever felt like you might be a girl? No, you can't do that. That's not okay. That is not okay. That is not acceptable. And Charlie Kirk was standing on that hill. All right. Donald Trump has stood on that, and many other people on the political right have stood on that, whereas people on the left are standing on the other side. I'm not on any side politically. I'm on the side of logic and objectivity. And again, you cannot be born with male reproductive organs and then all of a sudden become a girl. It's not a thing. You can't do that. So is that divisive rhetoric? Is that inflammatory rhetoric for me to say something like that? I don't think so. I think it's logical and objective rhetoric is what it is. And anyone who disagrees with that, okay, let's disagree. Let's have the conversation. We had a conversation about it. Doesn't mean I'm not harming your group by saying it. I am not inflaming anybody to do anything to your group by saying it. I'm just telling you where I see things, the same way you're telling me how you see things. And again, I'm not going to be mad at you or beat you up for your opinion the same way you shouldn't feel the same way towards me and my opinion. And just because I'm choosing to not affirm or validate you and your perspective, which I disagree with, is the same way that you have a right to not affirm or validate my perspective. Why does your perspective need to be validated, but mine doesn't? What's the difference? Well, just because I'm part of a group that has traditionally been quote unquote accepted and yours has not, well, there's a reason your group hasn't been accepted, because from my perspective, the group that you claim to be a part of does not exist because your claims are not based in any type of reality. From my perspective, that's the way I see things. And I have a right to my opinion. The First Amendment protects the right to free speech, which means I have a right to any opinion that I want, whether you agree with it or not, the same way you have a right to your opinion, whether I agree with it or not. So why is his perspective somehow negative, but your perspective is allegedly it needs to be accepted? Why? Just because your group hasn't been around as long or your group hasn't had as much acceptance? Again, there's a reason your group hasn't had as much acceptance, because we have generally not accepted this to be true. Now you're saying it needs to be affirmed as true just because you're saying it. Why? I disagree. We have a right to disagree. Again, the First Amendment protects my right to disagree with your perspective. Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, you know that Minnesota, that if a kid decides that they're a boy and they want to become a girl, but their parents won't let them, they can go to Minnesota while in the state of Minnesota, physically in the state of Minnesota, that the state can take custody over the child and you can get that gender affirming work done on you unbeknownst to your parents, and your parents can't stop them from doing it. Did y'all know that's the case in Minnesota? You can do that in Minnesota, and you don't have to be from Minnesota. You could be from Michigan. You fly over to Minnesota. Somehow you get there. They can do that and keep your parents from intervening. And that's the guy who was about to become vice president of the United States of America. We were not too far away from that. Charlie Kirk is coming out and saying that's not okay. I'm okay with Charlie Kirk saying that that's not okay. So they're saying that, and what people are saying is that because he was anti, and they're calling this because he had this opinion, let's just say one thing, he had this opinion, that makes him anti-LGBTQ, which means he shouldn't be celebrated. I say that's not a good enough argument. This is non sequitur. All right, there's no connection between those 2 points.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Just because I'm not co-signing your LGBTQ or rainbow position does not mean that I should not be celebrated, because affirming LGBTQ does not make me right, and going against it does not make me wrong. It's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. That's all it is. And again, debating opinions is what politics is all about. So how all of a sudden is it, oh, it's okay for this guy to lose his life, or I'm not going to feel bad for him and his family simply because he had an opinion that I disagree with? Again, I'll ask the rhetorical question: have you lost your damn minds? Now, supporters say recognizing him is about condemning political violence and defending the right to speak, even if you dislike the speaker, which I've spent time talking about already here today. Now, bipartisan statements stress that violence has no place in politics and mourning does not equal endorsing all views. This is the logical, objective way of looking at things. And we heard reasonable statements coming out of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and several others who are on the political left clearly in opposition, or Charlie Kirk was clearly in opposition to them, but they still can come out and be reasonable in these times, which is what everybody should do. And if everybody in the world was reasonable, we wouldn't have to have this conversation right now. But since people are not reasonable, that's why we're here. Now, opponents counter that state honors normalize, that these state honors, meaning the government and Donald Trump, etc., memorializing Charlie Kirk. And the New York Yankees at the baseball game yesterday, they had a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk at the Yankees baseball game yesterday. They're saying that this normalizes inflammatory activism. Again, note the language, inflammatory activism. And it erases real harms to marginalized people who are frequent targets of his messaging. Again, y'all notice the language here? You're starting to catch up to this? They're saying, first of all, normalize, inflammatory, activism is fine. And it says erases harm to marginalize. That's another word that has become popular these days, is marginalize groups. Because marginalize makes it seem like somebody's doing something to you. Nobody's doing anything to you if you're part of a quote unquote marginalized group. I'm black. I'm allegedly part of a marginalized group. I don't feel marginalized. But black people, there are many black people out there who say, oh, you got to be marginalized because it speaks to the emotions and it is used as a weapon against people who are not part of the marginalized group. So, well, hey, you got to listen to me. You got to respect me. You got to do things for me because I'm marginalized and you're not. You have an advantage that I don't have. So we got to balance it out because I'm marginalized. I push back against this. Again, I come from the sports world where you got to earn it. I don't come from a world where you can bitch your way into success. But again, different. We're not going to go deeper into that rabbit hole, at least not yet. Marginalized groups who are frequent targets of his messaging. Okay, let's break this one down. I already explained why he got state honors, because he helped Trump get elected. If you help me get elected and something happens to you, yes, you're going to get my attention. Why? Because you helped me get to the position that I'm in. They say inflammatory activism. What makes it inflammatory? Again, coming out and saying, I don't believe that a boy can become a girl is not inflammatory. It's just my opinion. It's my perspective. It can be, you can go as far as to call it my belief. I got a right to my belief, and I got a right to state my belief protected by the First Amendment. So what are we talking about here? What makes it inflammatory? And then they say the marginalized groups. You're part of a group that is smaller, or a group that is just now emerging as being accepted by some as even existing. And my group's been around for a long time, such as males and females. And now you're calling yourself you're not either one, and you're calling yourself marginalized. Does that mean I have to accept what you say? Does it mean that I'm wrong if I go against anything that you're doing? Does it mean that I'm wrong if I say what you're claiming to be is not even a real thing. You are just confused. You have some type of mental illness that needs to be addressed. I have a right to that perspective, again, protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. That does not make it inflammatory. I can call it inflammatory that you're saying what you're saying. That, hey, my son Mike is going to become Michelle tomorrow, or my daughter Michelle is going to become Mike. How is that not inflammatory? And the frame that people are using here, when you ever hear these marginalized or people who are claiming some defense of or support for marginalized groups, their entire argument is based on one thing, which is my group is smaller than yours. My group is newer than yours. My group has not been accepted as long as yours has. Therefore, anything I say, you can't go against it. Otherwise, it looks like you're bullying me. That's the frame of marginalized groups. Whenever you hear that term marginalized, that's the frame that they're using. And a marginalized group could be any group that's not a heterosexual white man. Black people, females, LGBTQ. And we'll just say that. That pretty much covers it, right? Just those three groups. Or non-white people. Let's just say non-white people. POC, as some say. Females and LGBTQ. That's it. So opponents counter that this is normalizing any conversation that goes against these groups. I say, so the fuck what? So what? Your group is not above reproach. There's no group that's above reproach. There's no group that's above questioning. There's no group that's above criticism. There's no group that is above challenge. Just because you exist and you haven't had the same, let's say, success, for lack of a better term, or acceptance as other groups have had. So what? What do you think this is? This is not kindergarten. In kindergarten, we got to balance everything out so everybody feels like things are quote unquote fair and equal and balanced. In kindergarten, as soon as you get out of kindergarten, you graduate the first grade. Now is a competition. All right, that's when the competition starts. When you turn 6 years old, in case any of you didn't know. So any of you under the age of 6, I'm letting you know that up till at this point, enjoy the fairness, quote unquote, and the balancing out and the equity that you're able to enjoy amongst your peers. But as soon as you get to first grade, as soon as you get done kindergarten graduation, and you go get some pizza to celebrate graduating from kindergarten, now the competition begins. And it's not we're going to make it fair and equal and equitable just because you've been losing. If you've been losing, there might be a reason why you're losing, and it might be a reason that you keep losing. All right, that's the way the game works. And again, let me remind you all, I come from the professional sports world where we got a scoreboard. All right, you win, you lose. You lose too often, you get fired. That's the world that I come from. I'm an entrepreneur. All right, to win in entrepreneurship, you got to sell something and you got to produce revenue. You don't produce revenue for too long, you're out of business. All right, that's the way the game works. I also come from the sales world. In the sales world, you ain't selling anything. You get no commission, no check. Bills don't get paid. You probably got to quit that job or you're going to get fired first. Those are the worlds that I come from. I come from the performance and results-based world. Not this, oh, I'm marginalized or I'm losing, so somebody has to do something to make me whole or make the game more equal between me and the people who have been winning. No, there's a reason they're winning. There's a reason why you're losing. There's a reason. There's a reason why someone who says a boy can become a girl feels marginalized, because most people don't believe that shit, and they don't have to. There's a reason why you're marginalized. You should be marginalized, and you should stay marginalized. And I got a right to say that out loud. I can say it anywhere that I want to say it. As did Charlie Kirk. And you see he paid for it. Maybe that was the reason. We don't know yet for sure. But that's the way it works. So the political right, their media ecosystem has rallied around Charlie Kirk, as it should, because Charlie Kirk was a prominent figure in the political right. He helped Donald Trump win the 2024 election, as I've said 5 times already. And they portrayed him as a martyr in some ways for free expression and a warning of escalating attacks on conservatives. Do they have a right to this positioning? Yes, they do. Is it a bit hyperbolic? Yes, it is. But compared to what the left does, they didn't go far enough. Let me take a sip of water while you marinate on that. For those on the political right, has Charlie Kirk been somewhat martyred over the last 48 hours after he lost his life? Somewhat, yes. I think the political right should go further. I think they should martyr him even more than they already have. They could go 10 times further than they already have. Why? Because the political left has gone 10 times further in trying to make him look like some type of hateful demon after his passing. And I'm not saying everybody on the left. I'm just saying the temperature of what I've seen on social media. Now, do all these people represent everybody? No, but what did we just talk about a few minutes ago? If that's the game we're playing, then let's play. If that's how we're playing, let's play. Remember, I was working at this gym called Valley Total Fitness years ago. This is before I got my first deal playing pro basketball. And I had this coworker named Lennox. And one day something happened with management that he didn't get a sale or a commission he was supposed to get. He was pissed off and he was venting to me. He said, Dre, anywhere I go, all I want to know is the rules. All right, tell me the rules. Tell me how the game is judged. And as long as everybody's playing by the rules, if I win, cool. If I lose, cool. But as long as we're all playing by the same rules, we're good. You know what I'm saying? I said, yeah, I get what you're saying. And that's what I'm saying to all of you right here. If the political left is going to be hyperbolic and they're going to take the actions of one or a few and they're going to apply it to the entire group, then they're going to tell everybody that the entire group is all these negative things because that's the way they want to play it, then if you're on the right, you better start playing the game that way too, because clearly it's working to influence people. I don't think it's a smart thing to do, but is it working to influence people? Yes. And being influential does not necessarily mean being smart. Okay, there's a whole lot of people who are influential who ain't that smart. Or look at your favorite entertainers and athletes. Most of them ain't that intelligent, but they're very influential. So sometimes you got to learn how to play the game the right way. And let me be clear what the right way means. The right way means the way that produces the desired result. I'm a pragmatist on this. The right way does not mean what's morally upstanding or what would Jesus do or any of that. The right way is what produces the outcome. I just told you I come from a performance and results based world. Sports is that, entrepreneurship is that, sales is that. Those are the worlds that I live in. The outcome is what matters. You are judged on your outcomes. So I think the right should go even further and martyr this guy. And they should go even further in attacking the left for the vileness and the nastiness of the frame that's been put around Charlie Kirk since his death less than 48 hours ago. So hosts and influencers are declaring this a turning point, pun intended, because Charlie Kirk's company was called Turning Point. And they're blaming left-wing demonization. And they have a right to do this. They have a right to do it because January 6, 2021, they blame the entirety of Trump supporters for what happened at the Capitol building. Did they not? Did that happen? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Did that happen? January 6, 2021, did the political left and the mainstream media blame anyone who supported Trump for everything that happened at the Capitol building that day, even though only 1,500 people got charged? All right, everybody knows that that's true. All right, even if you don't like Trump, we know that that's true. They applied that to everybody. Anything Donald Trump did nowadays is, oh, well, you're supporting a pedo. All right, if you support Donald Trump, you're supporting a pedo. Even though there is no proof, there have been no court cases, nothing that said Donald Trump did anything. Now people have just come to assert that and they just accepted it as true that he obviously did something bad because he gave a birthday card to Jeff Epstein. So that means that whatever Jeff Epstein was doing, Donald Trump had to be doing simply because he gave him a birthday card. Does that make any logical sense? Of course not. But do people believe it? Of course they do. I mean, am I making this up? Am I conjuring up things that don't exist? Have y'all not seen this? This is exactly what it is. He was in a picture with the guy at a party. Donald Trump seemed to be a partier back in his day. He was known for partying and canoodling and doing his stuff with the ladies. Jeff Epstein probably had some ladies himself, grown ladies, in addition to whatever else he was doing. And just because he ended up getting caught doing some illegal things and Donald Trump was cool with him, then it must mean he did it too. And now people are just going to keep asserting it without any evidence, any proof, and no legal adjudication. Because if you're going to call somebody a pedo, you got to actually prove that. That's not something you can just say. You got to take somebody to court for that. All right, that's a criminal case. That's a criminal charge. That's not a civil charge. That's a criminal charge. There's no criminal charge. And so until there is one, I doubt there will be one, but until there is one, we can't go asserting something like that. But people are saying, oh, well, you support Trump. Well, he's a pedo. You support Trump. Well, he's a felon. You support Trump. Well, he tried to destroy the democracy and tear down the government and overthrow the government or whatever else they say about it. And they apply that to anybody who doesn't trash Trump. That applies to you. So even me, I'm not trashing Trump. People are going to apply it to me. Even though I'm not even on any side politically, they're going to apply it to me simply because I won't trash him the way that you would trash him. And this is the way people are playing the game now. Okay. This is the way we playing? Okay, let's play. I told you I come from the sports world. We playing, let's play. All right, I'm willing to play if that's what we're doing. So others warn that using Mr. Kirk's death to wage a culture war is dangerous and premature given the unknown motive. I say it doesn't really matter. We don't know the motive of the shooter. We may not know the motive of the shooter. The shooter does have a right to remain silent and has a right to an attorney. And if they bring an attorney in, the shooter's probably not going to tell us much. And that shooter's probably facing probably up to and including capital punishment. So who knows the shooter's ever going to tell their real reason? Who knows if whatever reason they give is a true reason? For those of you who don't know, on the shell casings or the bullets, whatever, one or the other, that was aimed and hit Mr. Kirk, it was written something about transgenderism. I don't remember. I don't know what the exact language was that was on it, but that was noted. I heard Megyn Kelly talk about that. So some saying that you shouldn't use this as a turning point culturally simply because nobody knows why the shooter did what they did. And again, I'm saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why the shooter did what they did. There has been enough of increase in temperature in what's happening in the United States of America when it comes to politics, specifically around President Donald Trump, that the person being very close to helping him, Charlie Kirk, getting shot at an event where he's doing more of what he was doing to help get Trump elected in the first place is enough reason to say we're going to take this as a response to the things that he's been doing, and we're going to respond as if that's the reason that happened, even if we never find out the actual reason from the actual shooter. I say that's fair game. I say that's fair. Why? I've already told you 30 times. What they do January 6th. They applied it to everybody. What they're doing about Trump now with the Epstein files, allegedly. They're doing it they're applying it to anybody who is in any way connected to Donald Trump, even if you just said something positive about him on Facebook 3 years ago. They're applying that to you. Why? Because this is what works. This is what works for them. And again, sometimes you got to meet people on the low road. I know Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Well, sometimes when they go low, you go lower. Sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to meet people on the low road. Why? That's pragmatism. Now, utopianism is every time someone goes low, you go higher and you go above them and you stay above the fray and you don't get into the nastiness and they go nasty. Well, has any of you ever paid attention to a political campaign? Understand that you have no choice but to go negative. You got to run some negative ads about your opponent. Why? Because if you don't, you're not going to win. Kamala ran negative stuff about Trump. Trump ran negative stuff about Kamala. They all do it. Why? Because this is the game. Why? Because negativity spreads faster than positivity. This is human nature. That's why. In case any of you didn't know this. All right, y'all should have learned this in elementary school. They don't teach it, but you should have figured it out. Negativity travels faster than positivity. That's the reason why the left has been able to stir up their vocal minority of people with the things that they said. Now, we call it a vocal minority because the last election we saw who the majority is. It's the people who voted for Trump. Those are the silent majority. But they've been able to stir people up and get them very, very excited to the point that what happened to Charlie Kirk, what almost happened to Donald Trump, how so many people papered over what happened to Trump with those 4 court cases in 2024, which were all ridiculous. And people just said, well, hey, everybody got to be held accountable. Nobody's above the law. Remember that? Remember, nobody's above the law. Everybody get held accountable. Remember that? When Trump was getting run through the ringer in court, it was nobody's above the law. Yet Joe Biden pardons a whole bunch of people before he leaves office, probably with his auto pen. And, what happened to nobody being above the law? Notice everybody forgot that phrase then, but everybody knew it through all of 2024 during those court cases. But as soon as Joe Biden pardons 4 people before he leaves office, nobody's above the law anymore. That phrase has got extinguished. I didn't hear anybody on CNN saying it then. Y'all consider this stuff? So, editorials caution against weaponizing grief and inflaming rhetoric before investigators finish their work. I say, screw all that. You can weaponize it. I mean, did anybody know the details of what happened January 6, 2021? But by the end of the day, they had already kicked them off all social media, and everybody was saying that Trump's going to destroy the government. And if you're a Trump supporter, you're a terrible person. Nobody knew the facts of what happened that day. The cases hadn't been adjudicated yet. Nothing even happened yet. Besides, people breaking through the barriers and trespassing in the building. But people drew conclusions immediately that day. Again, am I conjuring up something that didn't happen? Now, campus speech advocates say that the shooting of Charlie Kirk spotlights real security gaps for controversial speakers and the need to protect open forums. I say this is 100%. I talked about this yesterday. Charlie Kirk doesn't have the type of security that Donald Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Melania Trump, he doesn't have the level of security they have. They got Secret Service. Charlie Kirk got security, but it ain't that. Now, I think it's going to make everybody think twice, especially if you're on the political right, especially if you're out in open space. If you're doing an open air event, you're a sitting duck. Charlie Kirk was literally a sitting duck when that happened. He was literally sitting down when that happened to him yesterday. 200 yards away, pinpoint accuracy. So I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of outdoor events. I think it's going to be more indoors, easier to control the operational security indoors and outdoors. So universities have to reassess protocols. Incident reignites long-running fights over ideological tolerance on college campuses. Speaking of such, on college campuses, when you see protesters trying to shut down a speaker, not allow a speaker to speak, phoning in bomb threats and threats to try to stop the events from happening, barricading people inside of places where they're trapped and they can't get out, who is that usually happening to? Is it happening to people who are speaking from a conservative point of view or a liberal point of view? Is it happening to people on the right or the people on the left? Give me a comment, right or left. When a speaker goes to a college campus and for whatever reason they're either not allowed to speak, they are blocked from speaking by protesters, they get barricaded inside a building and they can't get out, they're being attacked on their way into the campus or out of the campus, or there's just some overall ruckus that's trying to stop the event from happening. Is that happening to speakers who are on the right, or is it happening to speakers on the left? It's only happening to people on the right. There's not one speaker on the left who tried to speak at a college campus and they couldn't give their speech because of protesters shutting down the building or barricading the building or phoning in threats to where the officers say we shouldn't have this event at all or we can't protect you. You don't hear that happening to somebody from the left ever. It only happens to people from the right. And who's on the college campus? Young people between the ages of 18 and let's say 25. And who do these people become when they get out of school? They become the people who are on CNN, the people working in the government, the people who are your influencers and podcasters. This is the next generation of adults that are going to be running the country. They're on these college campuses. And on college campuses, the only people who get blocked from speaking or threatened for speaking are people on the right. Can we not give credit to the mainstream media and the left media for riling these people up to think the way that they're thinking, and to their professors, who are mostly people on the left as well? Because professors who are conservative are not going to have a whole bunch of students who are all riled up to defend the left and attack the right. That doesn't even add up. So this is what's happening. So campus speech advocates. I don't even know what this means to be a campus speech advocate. What needs to happen, if you ask me, here's what needs to happen. If I'm the dean of students at any school, I don't care what school it is, I'm saying, listen, we're bringing in speakers. We're going to bring in the same number of people who are on the left as you bring in a number of people who are on the right. And they're all going to come. They're all going to be in the building. They're all going to speak. No, you are not going to shut them down. No, you are not going to phone in any threats. If you come in here acting like you ain't got any sense, we got security. They're going to take care of you. I will see to it myself. And there's not going to be any shenanigans. And I'm the dean of students. All right, you go against my word, we'll kick your ass off this campus. And that's the way it's going to go. And you're not getting your money back. And that's the way it's going to go. Why? Because this is an institution of higher learning. And an institution of higher learning, we are open to all opinions, all beliefs, all perspectives. You will listen to what everyone has to say. If you disagree, you will formulate a logical and rational and civil pushback against what that person says. But we're not shouting down anybody from talking, because you're at college to learn. And learning means you're going to listen to things that you may disagree with, or you may think you disagree with. You're too stupid to know why you disagree because you're only 18. You don't know anything. And you're going to listen. And if you get in the way of that happening, I will see to it that you don't go to school here anymore and you will not come back to this campus. That's the message I would send out to everybody if I'm the dean of students at a college. And you'll listen to everything. I don't care if you like it or not. That's the way it should happen on college campuses. But what we get instead are these weakling deans, these weakling leaders at colleges who say, well, we're going to cancel this event for Ben Shapiro because there are so many threats being phoned in. We don't want Ben Shapiro to feel threatened for his life. Or we're not going to have the event at the main building where it's supposed to happen. We're going to have Candace Owens speak remotely from somewhere with Wi-Fi, and we're going to broadcast her speaking on the big screen, but she's not actually going to be in the room. Or we're not going to have Charlie Kirk speak here. We're going to have him do it via Zoom, and we're going to have a conversation that way. That's nonsense. You're the dean of students, so you're in charge of events at a college campus with a whole bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds who don't know a damn thing, but they think they know a whole lot, and they're going to tell you, they're going to shut you down from having an event that you paid that speaker for, and they're paying you all. Y'all are, they're technically the customers, but y'all are basically running it. And y'all going to let them shut down an event because they don't want to hear something? Again, you're 19. What the hell do you know? You don't know anything. What do you not want to hear? Why? Based on what? What life knowledge do you have? What life experience do you have to not want to hear something? Zero. Nothing. Now be quiet. Sit the hell down. Shut up. Same way you do in class. And you're going to listen to what Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro or fill in the blank name person, what they have to say. All right, you're in school to learn. All right, protesting is not learning. All right, shouting somebody down when they're trying to talk is not learning. You can't learn while you're talking. Sit down, shut the hell up before we kick you out of school. And you're not getting your tuition money back. So civil liberties critics add that security fixes, quote unquote, can morph into sweeping restrictions that chill protests and student speech broadly. That's exactly what I just said, is it not? And that's exactly what they should do. There shouldn't be any students shutting down a professional coming in to speak at a college campus. Again, I'll say for the third time, how are a bunch of 20-year-olds going to tell a 35-year-old that you shouldn't speak in my campus because I disagree with your perspective? Again, where did you get your perspective from, you college sophomore? You don't know anything. You have no life experience. You went to high school. You're living in your parents' house. Now you came to a college campus and you've been sitting in classes for 4 hours a day. You don't know anything because you have not done anything. You have no logical, strong reasons to disagree with anything. How about you sit down, be quiet, and listen, then formulate an opinion? Isn't that the reason you go to college? Isn't that the purpose of college, to learn stuff? Now, how can you learn when you're protesting? I went to college. I got a 4-year degree. All right, you're supposed to sit down, shut up, and listen, and then you take a test at the end of the semester, right? And at the middle too. Isn't that how it works? Has it changed since I got out of college? I thought that's the way it goes. But now they're going to shut down Donald Trump Jr. from speaking out on a college campus because they don't like his rhetoric, his divisive, inflammatory rhetoric. What? Do they do that to the teachers? I'm just trying to figure this out. Any of you more plugged into the college, the university world than I am, please help me out. If you don't like what a professor has to say, do you protest the professor and not let him teach the class on Tuesday at 8 o'clock because you don't like what the professor has to say? No, they don't do that. But when a speaker comes in, now they can do it. And the leaders at the university, they're accepting of this. How is this? How is this? Can some 8th graders shut down the teacher in middle school? But now when they get to college, all of a sudden, now they have that they got more power. Why? What's the difference? Yeah, I get you're paying for it. But I mean, if you look at the way colleges work, the students tend to talk to the professors and the leaders as if they're the bosses when they're technically not the bosses, but you treat them like they are. They walk around as if they are. So now when Candace Owens comes, now she can't speak, and you don't have the balls or the backbone to tell the kids to shut the hell up. It doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned. Now, safety, as I just said, should not become a pretext to curb dissent or impose one-sided rules. Exactly. Which means everybody should be able to come in and say what they want to say and speak their piece. And you can disagree, but you're going to disagree in a civil way, the same way you would with your professor in calculus class. You don't interrupt the calculus class and start screaming at the professor and get a round of applause for that. You get kicked out of school for doing that. Is this true or not? You interrupt the philosophy teacher in the middle of a lecture on a Thursday and you just keep shouting them down and you won't let them talk and you're protesting, you can get kicked out of school for being disruptive in class because you're stopping everybody else from learning. They'll kick you off the campus. You can't come to school anymore. You are expelled from this university. But when a speaker comes in, it's completely okay. How do the rules change? So it is fair game politically to argue that hostile rhetoric, if you want to call it hostile rhetoric, just talking, period. Let's just call it talking. It's not hostile. It's just talking. Could it contribute to violence? Yes, it can. Again, we can't say it's responsible, but can it contribute? A standard that both parties apply when tragedy strikes their side. Yes, do people pick and choose on this? It seems like yes. I think the right has been much more restrained in this, and I'm telling the right, you shouldn't be restrained because look what the left is doing. Right-leaning figures are making the claim that now, noting the left would making that claim now, noting that the left would make similar arguments if the roles were reversed. I'll say absolutely. Fair game. Why? Because this is the game that they decide they want to play. And clearly it works for them, and they keep doing it. Donald Trump won the election. He can't run for election again. They're still doing it. Charlie Kirk just died. There's a whole bunch of people still doing it. Okay, this is what we're playing. Fair enough. You got to tell me 3 times. Now, attributing causation without evidence risks collective blame and further radicalization. I say yes, and so what? Yes. Collective blame is what I already explained. You're a Trump supporter, then you support felons in the presidency. You support pedos. You support overthrowing the government. You support destroying democracy. That's called collective blame. And further radicalization. All right, I don't know how much further we can go, but okay. We already there. So investigators haven't established motive yet, at least as of before I started this live this morning. And premature narratives can harden polarization and undermine trust in the outcome. I say, so what? So what? That's what I say about this. So let's see if we can find out about this. The Charlie Kirk shooter. Let's see what I can find. And I'm going to take a quick restroom break. So the suspect got turned in by his dad, according to the Sun. This is what this company called the U.S. Sun. They say that the shooter's dad found him. His name is Tyler Robinson, 22. His dad turned him in a day after the assassination. He got arrested near Zion National Park, 250 miles away from the shooting. So I'm assuming he hopped in a car and drove away. So there's a sweeping manhunt. There was no way this guy was getting away. They had an image of him. They had a picture of him. He ain't getting away. I think that's pretty obvious. So according to what is said here, he fired a single shot, hit Charlie Kirk in the neck. We know that. He got arrested Thursday night near Zion National Park, 250 miles southwest of the campus where it happened. Trump announced the arrest in an appearance on Fox News Friday morning, said someone very close to Robinson turned him in to law enforcement. And he's a Utah resident. He confessed to his dad that he did it. So I guess his dad just turned him in. Cops said at a press conference that Robinson will face the death penalty if convicted of the assassination. So as I told you, capital punishment, that's the death penalty. So he got taken into custody, 2-day manhunt. His dad turned him in. They had a picture of him. And yeah, that whole thing with the picture of him, there's no way he was getting away. He was 22 years old. So this is the guy. His name is Tyler Robinson. Let's see if we can look this guy up. Tyler Robinson. So this is the shooter, this kid. And I think all they have so far is still this picture. And not that. 22-year-old Utah resident. He confessed to his father. His dad is a 27-year veteran of the Washington County Sheriff's Department. So I guess his dad taught him how to shoot. Obviously, the guy knows how to shoot. He got taken into custody. $100,000 reward was offering for information. So I wonder if the dad got the $100,000. Maybe he did. I think they gave the dad the $100,000. So a single shot, and yeah, he told his dad. So he couldn't keep his mouth shut. So he went and did all that, and then he couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Received the resident presidential scholarship.
So now people have pictures of him. So they went and found this dude. That's the thing about the internet. Once your name gets out there, now there's pictures of this guy everywhere now. His Facebook got rated. So this is the guy. This is a picture that they found of him. This is the shooter. So this is him, and there's some other artwork. Artwork is just pictures of this guy. Here's another picture of him. This is the shooter of Charlie Kirk. And again, he didn't even last 48 hours. He's a resident of Utah. Some saying Orem, Utah, where the shooting occurred. I don't know if anybody has said if he went to school there, but we'll know by Monday. We'll have all the information about this guy. His whole life will be on the internet by Monday. Now, let me see something. All right, somebody's texting me and trying to communicate with people. People are very awkward in their communications these days. But anyway, I need to take a quick restroom break. Then we'll get to the comments. We are going overtime here today, so don't worry. We'll get to the comments. Give me 90 seconds, folks, and we'll get to the comments where we'll get to hear your favorite sound.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I'll be right back. I'm back. Let's get to the comments here. I don't know if YouTube Studio is working properly. We might have to go back to doing Rumble Studio when I do my lives on YouTube. YouTube Studio has been not working well all year. Not just recently, but all damn year. So over on Instagram, Human Imagination says, Maoism, you can understand what the left is doing. Yes, I know about it. So you're describing witnessing pincer techniques to rile up. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I know what you mean. And Diane says, I wonder if they did a sweep of the building roofs before or while he was speaking. It seems too easy for someone to get up there. They probably didn't do it for Charlie Kirk. Again, Charlie Kirk's not the president, so it's not the Secret Service. So he has a different level of security. So probably not. I would guess, Diane, probably not. So let's see what we got going on in the comments here, folks. I am reading from the oldest that I can see. I can't get to every single comment, so nothing personal if I don't see your comment, but I'll get to the ones that I can. So a bunch of you said they got the shooter in custody. Yeah, we know. FR said, I'm tired of people killing each other over race and colors in politics. Well, we don't know exactly why he did it yet, but I get what you're saying. Allison, thanks for joining the fan club. NB says, left tells everyone what they want to hear. Well, I think the right does that as well. It's just that the detractors don't want to hear it. That's the challenge. Tavas 32X2, thank you. Shasta Style said, that's because many professors are leftists pushing the socialists. I don't know if they're all from a certain country. A lot of them from America. Shasta. Brenda Wagoner, thank you. Caitlin, thanks for the follow. Jewel of the King, thanks for the share. Ruzav D2, thanks for the follow. Kansas Sunflower said, MSM is absolutely at fault. Well, that's what Donald Trump said. And I get what he's saying. Barb Stribley said, I agree. You're 100% correct. Thank you. Adaram Miriam, so sad. Thank you. Tina said, you're speaking the truth. Thank you. MB said, exactly, that's what college is about, learning all perspectives. Yes, exactly, but it doesn't seem like it when it comes to these type of events. And the fact that a lot of professors who work at colleges they lean left. I mean, are there any college professors walking around with a MAGA hat and they're an open Trump supporter and they have a job as a professor at a college? I would guess that most colleges, that the majority of their professors, they're not that. But if you walked around with a Kamala Harris t-shirt on, it's okay. But you couldn't walk around with a Trump hat on and still have a job. Which means they're not actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because half the country is on one side, half on the other side. So that means your faculty should look like that. But the faculties don't look like that. Baby Cake said, white on white crime now. Well, Baby Cake, I get what you're trying to say, but stop it. Don't even try it. All right, just look up the term per capita and that conversation ends. Random old lady said, wow, I love it. Well, thank you. Mary Hawk, thanks for the follow. Brandy Brickler, thanks for the follow. Random old lady said, you are so right. Thank you. Yes, keep tapping the screen, folks. We're at 163,000 likes. Say, Carla, good morning. Patty App said, I wish you were a college dean. I don't know if I want to be a college dean. Actually, I would do a very good job if I was a college dean. I don't know which college, though. It would have to be a college that it can't just be a right-leaning college because then they wouldn't need me. I had to go to a college that right now has a whole bunch of left-leaning people. We got to fire a good number of them because we got to balance it out. The college should represent what the country looks like. So if we're talking social, political, half the faculty should be on the right and half the faculty should be on the left. And the people who are on the right should be comfortable walking around campus with a Trump hat on, just as the people on the left are comfortable walking around with a Biden or Kamala Harris pin on their shirt. Alexandra Haley, thanks for the follow. Robert Neal said, they know what Ken tells them. I don't know what that means. Cluey said, I stand up for Israel and America. I live in California. Okay, fair enough. Karina to the rescue. Thanks for the follow. Robert Neal said, CNN. Oh, CNN. Okay, I got it. Slade Luke Jaden, thanks for the follow. TikTok rep says, Serenity mad because he was a father in the home. What does that mean? Nana Cat said, make them watch a whole videos instead of the splice and dice ones. Well, I don't know if you could make them do that, Nana, because social media is designed for that. It's designed for the clips. Carolyn Rudder, good morning. PK Arnold McFry, good morning. Mushroom Girl, good morning. Thanks for the repost. D, Wifey Tips, good morning. Logan Olson, thanks for the follow. James Eaton said, right on. Thank you. Jelly Raff said, the way things are going, before long, children will be allowed to walk out of classes they don't like. That probably happens now. I mean, technically in college, you could just get up and walk out the class if you want to. But I get what you mean. I think you mean like walking out and protest in a way that everybody sees it. You're probably right. Beck Lager said, pictures of him with the weapons. Who are you talking about? Murphy the Mutt said, disagree in a nice manner. Yeah, disagree in a civil manner. You don't have to be nice. You just got to be civil. Like, hey, all right, I heard what you said. Here's my argument against it, and have an actual conversation. It was how it's supposed to be. Shauna McD said, not anymore. Marsha Carter said, if they don't want to hear or believe in what a speaker has to say, they can always leave. Yes, they can, but that they shouldn't leave. You should stay and listen. That's the very point. The very point of having the disagreement or debate, if you want to call it that, is that you got to listen to what your opponent has to say. If you don't listen to what your opponent has to say, it's not a debate. That's just an argument because you're making a point, they're making a point, but nobody's listening. And if a speaker gets invited, then the speaker should be talking more than everybody else. That's the reason they got invited to speak. Texas T said, yeah, you saw the shooter's father. Dave's dog said, glad you came up on the FYP. I can see your content. I can now block you to reduce my eyes on FYP. All right, I like that one.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
You get the appeal to ridicule of the day. C. Seldian, thank you for the share. Disabled said Trump was just on the news, suspect in custody. Yeah, I think he came on like right before I went live this morning. And the press conference is coming, I'm sure. Brian, thanks for the follow. Diesel Diaries, yes, they got him. They found him. He told his dad he did it, and his dad turned him in. So I wonder if they gave the dad the $100,000. That's all I want to know. Mary M said, so glad his dad did the right thing. Yeah. Well, I think if you know somebody did a crime and then you don't say anything, then technically you could be implicated. So I think he kind of didn't have a choice. I believe that's the way it works. Courtney said, can't imagine how the father felt when he saw the picture of his kid as the shooter. Yeah, who knows? Maybe his kid told him before his dad saw the picture. Because who knows if his dad is plugged in on social media. His dad sounds like he's probably an older guy. So he's a 27-year veteran. So his dad might be an older guy who's not running around Facebook, maybe. His name is Tyler Robinson, the shooter. Yes, they did get him. His name is Tyler Robinson, and he was apprehended just this morning. So, yeah, Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, from Utah, but there isn't enough. There's not a ton more information about him yet. So he is technically a suspect right now. I don't know if they have a confession directly from him. And now, also what's crazy is that his family's going to look crazy. And that sucks because his family didn't do it. He did it. And now his mom, his dad, everybody who knows his family, now they're all going to be looking at them crazy just because their son did something. They didn't do anything, but he did. So now they got to live with that. So, yes, they did get him. Renee said Trump announced. Okay, so a bunch of you are telling me that Trump announced it. Who knows what his background is politically? He's from Utah, so I don't know if he's a Democrat. But who knows? He's 22 years old. So it's very possible that, first of all, being from Utah, I would guess if I had to bet money, I would guess that he grew up in a conservative household, being from Utah. But being that he's 22 and maybe a college student, there is also a strong possibility that even though he grew up conservative, his personal views may be more liberal. That happens sometimes too, especially when a kid goes off to college. We don't know if he went to college. All we know is his name and his age. That's all we know so far. If this is even accurate, but this is what's going around right now. Renee said 22 years old, unreal. Yeah, it's crazy. Vivian from Philly, good morning. Good morning. Vivian said, I pray he gets the maximum. Well, if he gets convicted, he's not getting the maximum. I think he's getting capital punishment. Vivian said it would be something that the father did it for the money. I don't know if he would do it for the money. I think, as I said, if you know somebody did a crime and you don't say anything, then you are technically complicit. And you could be held accountable for that. But if the dad got the money, I mean, technically they said it's a $100,000 reward for turning in the shooter or information that leads to capturing the shooter. And the dad technically did give the information. So technically they owe him $100,000. All right, I want my money. Ashley Mack said he debated Charlie. Who did? The shooter? Sabrina said, what is his training? I don't know, but I don't know that answer. Ava Tarashi said, eye for an eye. Okay, I understand. Vivian said, looks can be deceiving. Looks like a nice, clean-cut kid. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with his leaning. He can lean left or right, still be clean-cut. Joey Delgado said hero. Which one? Charlie or the shooter? Serena says, so he's a liberal dim like you all know already or what? Nah, I didn't say that. Come on. Are you really doing that? Serenity and love?
Strawberry cheesecake.
And so you get the first straw man of the day. I didn't say that. I said, being that he's from Utah, if I had to bet money, I would bet that he grew up in a conservative household. Why? Because Utah is a very conservative state. And I know a lot of people from Utah. And you can just look at the data. Utah is a conservative state. But being that he's 22 and maybe he's college educated, we don't know yet. We don't have any information on the guy yet except his name and his age. It's possible that he has picked up some liberal ideas and ideals from going to college because many colleges lean much more liberal than they do conservative. I thought I explained this pretty cleanly. Book Nerd said, throw away your life for a difference of opinion. Maybe. We don't know why he did it yet. Let's not jump to conclusions. Nicole Kentucky, thanks for the follow. Annette Thompson, thanks for the follow. Ray P. Damaris Cruz, thanks for the follows. Simply Farm said, the question is, how did he get such a perfect shot, especially from that distance? Well, his dad was a 27-year veteran of, I think it said either police force or the military. So his dad probably taught him how to shoot. So he's probably just a good shooter. And he probably hunts. I know a lot of people with conservative backgrounds. Hunting is pretty popular amongst conservatives in general. So he's probably a very good hunter. 200 yards away, an accurate shot. He probably has shot his fair share of deer and bison and who knows, pheasants. Who knows what he shoots. He probably is a pretty good shot. Stephanie, thanks for the follow. Lisa said he did it because he hated his dad. Now, well, why did he shoot Charlie Kirk and why didn't he shoot his dad? PK, thanks for the heart. And joining fan number 57 in the fan club. G Black, good morning. Yes, they called him. Carlin, Indiana, you're back. Irma V, thank you for the gift as usual. Lisa said, do you think anyone else is part of the plan? I don't know. It's too early to tell. It's too early to say. We'll see. Simply Farms. I lost my spot in the comments here. Simply Farms. No, that's not the right one. I lost my spot here. Oh, here it is. The question is, how did he get such a perfect shot? I already answered that one. I think it's something else you said I missed. I hate the fact that when people die, all of a sudden, all these nice things are being said. But it's usually what people do when someone's dead, because what's the point of talking bad about them? They're dead. When somebody's alive, you got the pro and the con. But when somebody's dead, what's the point? What do you gain at that point? Raquel said hero. Which one? Who are you talking about? Corinne Quinn said, why would no one use drones to see what's on top of buildings at these kinds of open events? Well, Corinne, drones cost money. And people who operate drones and would do something about what they see, that also costs money. Where's that money coming from? Remember, Charlie Kirk is not part of the government. He doesn't have Secret Service. Charlie Kirk he is a private citizen who happens to be aligned with the Trump administration, but he doesn't work there. He does not get government security. He had his own security. And I'm sure he has security, but sweeping the buildings in an open area space, that's a whole lot of security that you need for that. And that's the reason why I said a lot of these events usually happen indoors because of that reason. It's much easier to secure an indoor space than an outdoor one. Outdoor space, you can technically control for every possible access point, but it takes a lot of resources, such as presidential level secret security. But an everyday citizen, that's a lot of security, and that's a lot of people, and that costs a lot of money. So it's not that simple. Ashley Mack said maybe drones need to be used to check the rooftops. So Ashley said the same thing. 6 Northern Redneck said Charlie is and will always be a world hero. I understand. Murphy the Mutt said my guess only security was Kirk's, bouncers, and a few cops. I would say so probably as well. I would agree. But sweeping the rooftops and an open area space, do you know how much security that takes? A. DeLeon says studies show political violence happens from extreme right-wingers. Okay. We'll just enter that into the record. I don't have a response to that. But let's just say whatever studies you're referring to. The problem is, A. DeLeon, there are thousands of studies out there. So you can handpick whichever studies you want. Thomas, thanks for the follow. Her Diamond, 76, thanks for the follow. PK Arnold said the media is corrupt. I agree. Serenity said, wait for the facts. Well, no, we don't want to wait for the facts. We want to wait for the truth. The facts can be handpicked. You can handpick 3 facts out of 20 and leave out the other 17. So no, we don't want to wait for the facts. Straight Jacket said, thanks for applying logic to an irrational situation. You're welcome. James Winters, thanks for the share. Heather said, you should speak at colleges. Well, see, they won't hire me to speak because I say stuff like what I've said here today. And remember, a lot of colleges are more left-leaning than right-leaning, so they're not going to hire me because the stuff that I say on lives like this. I would do it, but given the circumstances. Melissa, thanks for the follow. Chrissy Joe said, I think you would be a great DA or even one of the few honest politicians. I agree, Chrissy. The problem is, and I appreciate the compliment, the problem is I wouldn't get elected. The problem is to be a politician, you got to get elected. And to get elected, you got to lie. So, see, I get what you're saying about being an honest politician, but it's kind of an oxymoron. Because to get elected in the first place, you got to tell a bunch of lies about what you're going to do. I would have to lie about what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it in order to get elected. And then if I try to be honest after I lied to get elected, then people are going to be mad at me because what I'm doing is different than what I said. And to get elected, I have to lie in the first place. And then I got to go against that. And it becomes this whole thing. So that's the problem. But I appreciate the sentiment. Raquel said, you can look at liberals and know what they look like. It's easy. I don't know about that one, Raquel. I get what you're saying. I'll give you a...
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
That's funny, but I don't know about that. Raquel said, I haven't cried so hard since my son passed away in 2008. I'm done with liberals. Okay, fair enough. Ashley Mack said, walking out of class happened when I was in Little Rock Central High back in the late 80s. Y'all walked out of class in high school? I didn't know about walking out of class in high school. I would walk out of class in college, but never in high school did I see anybody walk out like, I don't want to be in class today. Where you going to go? In college, you could just walk out and you could just not go to class and nobody holds you accountable in college. In high school, if you weren't in class, you had to, where are you going to be in the building? Because class is happening for everybody at the same time. So if there's class from 11 to 12 and it's 11:30 and you're not in class, why are you not? What are you supposed to be doing? Where would you be? Where are you going to go? Everybody's in class at the same time. So Ashley, I need you to explain to me how that worked. Now, unless it was like there's lunch happening. Now, people had different lunch periods. So maybe you left class and you went in the lunchroom and acted like you had lunch when you didn't. But if there's no lunch class happening, then how are you going to walk out of class? So you're just going to hang around the building? Eventually, somebody who works there is going to see you and be like, okay, where are you supposed to be right now? Because obviously it's not just hanging out right here. So maybe your high school was designed differently from mine. Sounds like it was. Amy, thanks for the follow. Nana said, if it were my son, I wouldn't take the money. If it was my son, I need that money. FBI, there's my son. He did it. Take him to jail and give me my money. Because they said $100,000. So if you say $100,000, there's $100,000. Now, I don't know if the dad did it for, I don't think the dad did it for the money because how would you know your son did it? But if they said the reward is $100,000, then I need my money. Stasia 2323 said, you make way too much logical sense for the unhinged left. Stasia, I agree. Shauna McD said a minister turned him in. Well, what I read was a dad. And Shauna says a minister with the help of the dad. Okay, well, maybe they could split the $100,000. That's still $50,000. I still need my money. Nana Cat says, seems like college is just a tool for indoctrination these days. It's been that way for a while, Nana. You're right. I agree. Katarina said that kid just ruined his life and everyone around Charlie. Yeah, and his family's life too. Don't forget about that. Now they got to answer to that. Now everywhere they go, people are like, hey, you're the dad of the kid who shot this person. Simply said, for being 22, that is one hell of a shot, not promoting gun violence. Yeah, it is a hell of a shot for being 22. The guy, again, as I said, he probably has been trained to shoot since he was a child. So 200 yards away, that kind of accuracy, one shot. It ain't like he shot 5 shots. He shot 1 shot. So James Eaton said exactly why I won't pay for my kid to go to college. Well, it depends on what college, James. There are some colleges out there that might fit what you want. But the average college, just randomly chosen, I get what you're saying. I agree with you. Marie said they said death penalty is still something in Utah. Well, the FBI is getting involved, so they're making this into a federal crime. So it's definitely a thing in the feds. Courtney said press conference, yes. UT has DP and okay. All right, so maybe they'll do this in the state of Utah, or maybe it'll be a federal thing. So yeah, we'll see. Asher said the shooter did debate Charlie. Was it the same day or a different day? Lisa said Dad may as well get the money. I would. Well, hey, if he's the one who turned him in, he is owed the money. Vicky said Dad would need money for attorney. Well, that's assuming the dad's going to pay for an attorney. He might tell you, look, just go with the public defender and good luck. Michael Horst said, just because it's a conservative state doesn't mean he's conservative. I didn't say that he was. Really, guys?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I'll say for the third time, Utah is a conservative state. So if you tell me somebody's from Utah, Dre, guess, are they liberal or conservative? I'm probably going to guess conservative. Why? Because Utah is a conservative state. So just betting, just on simple probability, I'm going to guess that's a conservative person. Just like if you told me someone's from California, do you think they're liberal or conservative? I would guess, well, I would ask where in California, because different cities and areas have, let's say they're from LA, I'm going to guess that they're liberal. If you say San Francisco, I'm going to guess that they're liberal. Doesn't mean that they are, but that's just how it is. And again, I'm not saying he absolutely is. And we don't know. Maybe he's completely apolitical and just crazy. Gregory Snipes, thanks for the follow. Golden Diva, thanks for the share. Aunt B said we like to eat people. What does that mean? What does that mean, Aunt B? We like to eat people. Antho Meowie, thanks for the follow. Joe said 200 yards is not a hard shot with just a bit of training. Okay. We'll take your word for it. Badger said 200 yards with a 36 is not a hard shot. Well, I'm assuming you both of you leaving this comment actually are trained and practiced shooters. Whereas the average person, you just hand them that weapon and say hit something from 200 yards away, they probably wouldn't. James Baker said, would you qualify Charlie Kirk as a race hustler? No. The reason I wouldn't qualify him as a race hustler is race hustlers take situations that have nothing to do with race and they turn it into a racial situation. Charlie Kirk didn't do that. He would take situations where he was asked about race and he would give his opinion. That's a different thing. Same way I do. I would take a situation that is about race and I'll talk about race in the context of the situation, but I'm not trying to make it into a racial situation when it wasn't one in the first place. James Eaton said, I don't think he was a good shot. He was aiming for the head and didn't take into account gravity. I don't know, James. 6 inches off from 200 yards away, I would still have to give him credit. Raquel said, I'm so mad and emotional right now, so irrational. I understand. Ray, thank you for the share. ATL Freedom. Ace ATL said, it takes 2 drones and a monitor. Yeah, and somebody got to be watching that shit. And then they got to be able to do something about it. Her Diamond said, thoughts on the theories going on? Well, Her Diamonds, have you been here the last 2 hours yesterday, 2 hours today? That's all I've been talking about. There's my thoughts on what's going on. Daryl Bradley, thanks for the follow. Caricature Creations, yeah, we know. We've been talking about it. Disabled Marines said they had 6 cops and 5 of Charlie Kirk security. Yeah, and that's a lot of people, but in open air, you can't control every access point. That's the issue. Joe Byron said he should have bulletproof glass in front of him. Now, what's the point of being outside and in front of people? You're going to have a glass in front of you. I say nah. If you need to do that, then just have the event inside. But Charlie built his brand on doing events outside the way that he did it. So I get why he did it that way. And again, this is a Black Swan event. How many events did Charlie Kirk do? Thousands? He got shot at one time. So, I mean, it only takes one time. But at the same time, I wouldn't say he should have bulletproof glass in front of him. That's too much. Her Diamond said his security and giving signs, theories in general, just found, I'm very intrigued on your opinion. What are you asking about Her Diamonds? I don't get what you're saying. We're 184,000 likes. Can we get to 200K, please, folks? Raquel, thanks for the follow. Austin, thanks for the follow. Her Diamond said, can't wait to read your books. Well, great. I can't wait for you to get them. Murphy the Mutt said, I'll vote for you. Yeah, it's not enough votes. Murphy the Mutt, I need more votes than one. I can't win an election with one vote. Damaris, thanks for being honest, she said. Thank you. BB said, I don't agree with that. You have to lie to become a politician. You got to lie to win an election. I could become a politician by just calling myself one. But to win the election, a big election, like we're talking anything from governor on up, you have to tell lies to win. And by telling lies, what I mean is you have to promise a bunch of things that you're going to do, even if I don't actually want to do them. And then if I don't actually do them, then I was technically lying. Texas T said, we need to get more young people to listen to you. Okay, I agree with that. PK Arnold McFry said, I will vote for you. Logic and fairness should be the base of our leadership. Well, I agree it should be, but that's not the way human nature works. That's the problem. But I appreciate it. Chelsea said, we had a large open campus. We went to the park. Oh, you mean that in high school? Okay, yeah. See, I went to a high school in the city, and there's no park. We didn't have grass. We had a big concrete slab outside of the school. The playground was a big concrete slab, no grass. But I'm a city guy. Marie says, still need to go to court. Yeah, but he could just, his dad could say, use the public defender. You're going to get found guilty anyway. What's the point? What we hiring an attorney for? Unless they're trying to keep him from getting the death penalty. Ashley says certain groups would leave class and literally jump out of windows, first floor, and leave. Jump out of windows? Ashley, where'd you go to school at? People jumping out the window? Then they put a fence up and metal detectors. LR Central was interesting. Okay. I guess that answers the question. People jumping out the window. Was class that bad that people had to jump out the window? I never heard of people. Actually, the school I went to, we had there was fencing on the window, so you couldn't jump out the window. There was fencing around the outside of the window, so you open it. As soon as you put your hand 1 inch out, you were touching the fence, so you couldn't jump out. EJ's mom said, "We all make too much sense, and that's why they respond with anger and violence." I understand that. TX Golf Guy said, "As a hunter, a 200-yard shot is not difficult." Okay, so all the shooters in here are saying that 200 yards is easy for them. Okay, fair enough. And for a non-moving target, Joe Byron says it's not far for a hunting rifle. Okay, so I guess this guy didn't have to be that good. Stasia said the press conference is happening. I'm sure. I'll watch it later. Simply Farm said you only get the money if it leads to an arrest and a conviction, not just an arrest. Oh, well, I think the dad's going to get the money. News conference is happening right now. All right, I'll check it later. Pekins said, oh, thanks for the follow, Pekins. Marie said, have the event on Zoom. Yeah, but what's the point of inviting a speaker if they're just going to do it on Zoom? I want to be in the place. Sue Marie, thanks for the share. We're going to wrap this up in a minute, folks. I'm hungry. I need to eat lunch. Ashley Mack said, thanks for having the courage each morning, Dre. That's what Charlie did too. Well, thank you. Well, Charlie was showing up live in person. I give him more credit as far as courage goes. I appreciate you complimenting the skill. But he was showing up in person, and he was showing up knowing people were actively and vehemently disagreeing with him to his face. That's a little bit different than what I'm doing. But I get what you're saying. Thank you. Lisa said they're making it out like the guards made signs. Yeah, I get what you mean. Courtney said 22 is old enough to have been trained. Military member for 4 years is not too young. Well, and Courtney, what many of the experienced shooters in here are saying is that it's pretty easy with a certain type of rifle. 200 yards is not that easy. Simply Farm said, I got your vote. You got my vote too. All right, so I got 2 votes in the bank. Jennifer said we should be able to hold an intellectual conversation without taking anybody's life. Yes, I agree. And Charlie had thousands of them. I mean, that's why this is a Black Swan event, but sometimes it only takes one. Mitzi Galvez over there on Instagram. Good morning. Her Diamond said, just wonder your theory on how possibly security knew something was going on. I don't have a theory that security knew something was going on. You're asking me, you're kind of thinking past the sale. I don't think I said that. Mia Nicole, thanks for the follow. Texas T, thanks for the rose. Disabled Marine Vet, thank you for the share. Marky Man said the lies start with the city council. Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. Maiden Win Pecan Time, thanks for the follow. Ashley Mack said we all have to rise up and have courage. Thanks. Have a great day. You too. Mushroom Girl said my vote you have. Okay, so we're starting to get votes. I think to get on the ballot, you got to get like a petition and you got to get all these signatures on the petition. So I would have to go federal because all of y'all ain't in the same state. I'm in Florida. So I would have to go federal to even have y'all votes, you all's petition signatures matter. But I get the sentiment, so I appreciate it, everybody. So I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I usually go from 8 to 10. I go on overtime the last 2 days because this has been a breaking news story, and there's a lot that I needed to say before I got to the comments. So that's why I did it. So once you say you'll vote for me, okay, so I gotta get in the federal election, so that way all your votes actually count. And my federal election, it can't even be for senator or Congress because you only get to vote for the state that you're from. So if I got to run for president, I guess I got to run for president. So I need Charlie Kirk. Actually, I need Charlie Kirk's help. He can tell me how to get started on this, and now I got to figure it out. So everybody, you can get copies of my books. The Third Day, The Decision Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This book is free. Discover shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. The Mirror of Motivation, Self-Guide, Self-Discipline. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. And the Sales Discipline System, salesdisciplinebook.com. This book is all about using the 8 key disciplines of top salespeople to say goodbye to up and down months and inconsistent habits. Salesdisciplinebook.com, mirrorofmotivation.com, thirddaybook.com. There is a link in my profile that will take you to this page, but for whatever reason, TikTok disabled that link. I have already written them to get that fixed because they were saying I got some banned material on that page, which I don't. They did that before, but we're working on getting that fixed. Just text me at my number that I already gave you 305-384-6894. I'll send you the links to any book that you want. 305-384-6894. And that's again, text me and I'll give you the link to any one of these books. Or go to thirddaybook.com, mirrorofmotivation.com, salesdisciplinebook.com, or just go to workonyourgame.live. Look at the link in my profile, which you can't click on as of the last time I checked. But just type that link into your browser and it'll take you right to it. Again, it's workonyourgame.live. Let me go to I'm looking at my own profile to see if it's there. The link is there, but you can't click on it. So just workonyourgame.live. It says, look like your profile contains a link that is not allowed. We restrict certain content and actions to protect our community. You can change this link or remove it. It makes no sense whatsoever why they have this blocked. But let me just change it now because they keep changing this. I'm going to put my text number link in there. So if you send me a text, let me see if they updated it. Yeah, so click the link in my profile. It'll take you to my text. It'll just have you send me a text message, get in my text community, and you can ask me about the books. I'll give you the links to all of those. And we'll be back Monday morning. Topic to be determined is always a current event. I am hungry right now. I need to go eat. So everybody have a great Friday and have a great weekend. I will see everybody Monday morning. We are out of here. Work on your game. Have a great weekend.